Welcome to episode 85 of Talking Mopars and another installment of Direct Connections Live. This episode is the audio replay of our 7th Facebook live streamed podcast, where I was joined by the Motley crew of Mopars once again to talk Mopars. We had a few regulars plus some new faces to the live, but no strangers to the show. It was another fun episode, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Before we get this show on the road, though, I do want to tell you that this episode contains some language that may not be suitable for younger listeners or those with sensitive ears. Now, without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, and I am your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars, Direct Connections, Live.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
Live once again with the Motley crew of Mopars. Unfortunately, only one of the crew members is here right now, and that's okay. Matt from the Mad Fro Monroe on Big Blocks Garage podcast is with us today to talk Mopars as usual. We've got a couple other buddies coming in hopefully later on, but we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off. How's that sound, Matt?
Sounds good to me, man.
All right. If you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, and I am your host, Chris Albrecht. This is my friend Matt Monroe, and you're listening to, actually, you're watching, this is a live stream, to Talking Mopars Direct Connections Live. All right, buddy. Matt, what's up? You just got done at a Friday night cruise over in the good state of Arkansas. How did that go?
It was all right. I mean, there was some bad weather rolling in, so there wasn't a whole lot of guys out. There was a few cars.
Oh, yeah?
Like I saw a pretty nice AMX doing a little burnout before he loaded up and took off.
Nice. What kind of weather you guys got rolling in?
Just, we're in our rainy season right now, so like pretty much every day it's guaranteed it's going to rain a little bit at some point.
Oh, gosh. I'm sitting over here. I got this fan running. I'm like, oh, that sounds great, doesn't it?
I can't even hear it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really humid in this room right now. I'm dying. Sorry, guys. I rolled in like a minute before this thing fired off. Matt was waiting for me. That's what kind of a host I am. So where are you at on the Duster, man? I see it back there. What do you got going on with that thing?
We're pretty much at the point now. Everything just has to go on the car.
Okay.
I'm waiting on my headlight bezels to go with the grill. I mean, really, it's just putting it back together. Like, I gotta get the body work done. It looks like chaos behind me, but there was quite a few things at the in-laws' house that they decided need to come over here. So there it is.
Right. How excited were you when that grill, the shark tooth grill, came in, dude?
I was pretty giddy. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, like I've dreamed about that grill. And then I waited 2 months for it to come in from Classic Industries.
Yeah, I'm so glad that they repop those. I agree with you 100%. It's one of my favorite grills of all time.
I was getting nervous. I was like, are they going to get it back in or are they done?
Yeah. I'm glad. I know they aren't cheap because I've looked at a couple Dusters and I was like, oh God, if I get that car, it's totally incorrect for a 70, but I'd still throw one on there anyway, just because it's so badass. I love that grill.
It just looks good. Like, I mean, there's like the grills that came on them on the normal cars, the non-twister cars. Yeah. I just can't like them. I just can't.
They're just a little too, they scream like Plymouth Scamp to me or something. It's just a little too plain Jane for me. I like the shark tooth grill just looks aggressive. You know what I mean?
It does. I mean, it definitely changes the whole front end of the car. It takes it from like, oh, your grandma drove this to get groceries, or the college kid took this to get better gas mileage.
Yeah.
To this is a muscle car.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I see we got Mike Coffee is in the house. Let's bring him in. It's been a while since we had Mike on the show. And he's down at the river. No Mopars in the background, just balling with a bunch of boats.
There's just one boat.
Okay. All right.
Well,
So-
in the picture.
Yeah, nice, dude. That one's yours, I take it.
Yeah.
Nice. You're always out on the river. You're always missing these things, but we got you.
Yeah, we're gonna go out later on, so I figured I'd hop on real quick.
Nice.
Catch you guys
That's
beforehand.
that sweet little riverside bar that you guys got out there. God, that thing is cool.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get you out here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Is that the life down there or what? I see you posting pictures all the time and I'm like, is this like something I've never heard of? I didn't realize that river life was so big down there.
It's pretty big. Lake Havasu is just upriver from us, and we're right here in Parker.
Oh, okay.
And it's a pretty big, I don't know, vacation, spring break kind of destination. Yeah. So a lot of people here, a lot of, it's everything from a family thing to a crazy party, if that's what you want it to be. So it's pretty fun.
That's what I imagine it being, is a crazy party. I'm like, okay. Because up here we have this festival like in the summer called Sea Fair, and everybody jumps on Lake Washington with their boats, and it's a crazy festival basically. And you're posting your pictures, and I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
It's pretty good. The bar that we go to, it's called Roadrunner. It's actually a floating dock bar, and 4th of July, Memorial Day, all those weekends, it's just chaos. It's crazy. And it's a good time. It's right on the water. You can pull up on your boat, go have lunch, go get drinks, whatever. It's a good time.
I imagine you see, like, I've always wanted one of those 70s jet boats with like the candy paint or like the super 70s look. I've always wanted one of those. Do you see a lot of those out there?
Yeah, there's a fair amount. I mean, it's so busy out here anymore that it's mostly bigger boats. My boat's 26 foot.
Jesus.
And it's a good sized boat for the river, but most of the little boats like that are like, weekdays and off times and early in the morning and that kind of stuff. That's what I got started on. I actually it was a jet boat made by a company called Challenger. And it had a 440 in it, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
The story behind it was Haas from Bonanza owned it.
Oh, really?
I can't remember the guy's name, but that was the guy that supposedly put the 440 in it. And it was cool. I ended up, I recammed it, put a 509 in it, had nitrous on it, of course. And it was a good time. It was fun. That's awesome. Pretty much what got myself and my wife coming out here, and then it just keeps escalating. So
what are you into more, the boats or the Mopars?
Both. I mean, it's a tough one. My wife says I have two lives, because I have my river life and then I have my back in California life where it's all cars. But I'm still always on the hunt out here. I bought a 73 Challenger last year that was tucked away, and I know where there's a 71 Duster that's a EV2 orange car, 318, 4-speed on the floor.
Really?
Pretty bitchin' little car. This old man has it, and of course he won't part with it, but I've kind of become friends with him, and he's got my number, so I'm hoping one of these days I can talk him out of it.
Yeah. But, speaking, let's talk about that Challenger that everybody was talking shit about. Okay. Hey, it sold, did it not?
It did. I without giving exact numbers, it was over 30. And it was right about where I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you, the guy that bought it too, he's not going to put it back in plumb crazy. He actually bought it because he wants to do a vanishing point car with it. And I guess he's actually studied it. And one of the original cars that they used was a plumb crazy car that they painted in white. And I guess there's a part of the movie where you can actually see the purple on the leading edge of the hood.
Really?
Where the paint's chipped. So he's I guess the vanishing point car was a manual steering, manual brake, 444 speed, and he believes a plumb crazy, which of course got me thinking, man, what if that was the car?
Oh,
but
man.
he's a pretty well-known collector in this area, and he had no problem with the price. I probably actually should have stood my ground a little better, but it's all good. I mean, it went to a good home, and I wanted to keep it, but it's always that story of, not enough time and money, and gotta keep the best for myself. So
no, absolutely. The car looked solid to me. I was surprised it was catching so much shit. I was like, really, guys? But
never fails, man. Everybody that has a 73 318, oh, well, that car was only $30,000, and this car, people are idiots.
Yeah. It blows my mind every time. And I'm just like, that's why I always get excited when you got another car to sell. I'm like, all right.
I keep thinking about listing the 6-pack just to see, like,
oh God,
because I've been off since the last time I was on. I had one guy that he offered a pretty fair number for it, enough to really make me think on it, and I ended up stringing it tight. But I thought of putting it up at that number just to get everybody's reaction, because it's it's funny. People just don't get it. It's like, okay, go buy another rust-free 7440 Challenger, that's all numbers matching, has a broadcast sheet, has the fender tag. I mean, it was about as good as it gets. But
yeah, that man, that Coronet was so. What would it would take an A12, I imagine, or a wing car to get that thing out of your hands, huh?
Yeah, and even the wing car thing, I go back and forth on, because I've talked to so many people that have had them, and they're like, they're cool, and then it wears off. It's long, they're goofy, I don't know. I'd love to have one though, just to say I did. But yeah, definitely 69 A12 and a 4-speed. Have to be a Coronet. I like the Plymouth, but the Coronet. When you did your which one, the Coronet or the Roadrunner is, obvious choice for me. But
yeah, that's
I
definitely.
actually may have a couple 69 Plymouths coming my way. So
yeah, that's
they should really get your fans.
All right. All right.
There's a GTX, and it's kind of rough, but it's it's a 69 GTX, A4 silver, and it's a almost as far as a parts car, but it still has potential. It's still solid. So
I actually ran into a GTX. The guy that I was going to buy or trying to buy the 71 EL5 Charger from, I went over there recently because he's got a tin grill truck he wanted me to look at and possibly help him sell. I go over there and he's got a couple other cars that it's like a revolving door. All of a sudden he's got other cars, and there's a couple B bodies, and one of them is a 69 Satellite, and I was hooked on that car. I went over there, I was like checking it out, and then out of my peripheral vision, I see another B body directly behind. I don't know how I didn't notice it at first, but a 69 GTX, black, red interior. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the console. It's got a bench with a column shift. Unfortunately, no tag and no drivetrain. But I mean, it's not in too bad a shape. And he told me a number, and I was like, ooh, that's tempting. And I was like, of course, why weren't you around when I had a bunch of money? Now that I'm broke again, I don't have the money. But it's not going anywhere, so we'll see what happens. But
you're past due to get back into the car game.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those. I'm jonesing again. I have the truck and the van, and I'm like, God, I need a car again. I really don't have the room right now, so I have to be strategic about the next one. But
how's the van coming?
Not too bad. I need to get it running, but I've been having some problems with my friggin' truck. Some ignition problems, but I do have it running again, and I have some more parts on the way because I want to isolate what the actual problem is. And every time I throw a part, it's so weird. It wants to start. It seems like it's only getting spark intermittently. Now, I've checked. Everything seems to be okay, but I'm suspecting that it's either the distributor or the ignition module. So we'll see. I have both of them on the way, so I'm going to put one in at a time and see what really solves it, because sometimes it starts and sometimes it doesn't. The funny thing is every time I hooked my inline spark tester to it, it would fire up, and then I'd pull it off, and then it might fire up for a couple times, and then it'll just die and it won't start again until I hook up the inline tester to it. It's the weirdest thing, but I really think, I mean, it could be a bad wire, but I've checked I've done it to all the holes, and it does the same thing. It's so weird.
I'd lean towards the module.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, the distributors, it's just a magnetic pickup. There's not a whole lot to it. So, and they, I don't know, it almost seems like Mopar stopped making, like they had the orange box and the chrome box and all those. Because just recently I needed one, and all I could find was like the Pro Form and the generic ones, and they're kind of shitty. Especially like the parts stores modules. Those things are all like, the O'Reillys or AutoZone ones. Those are pretty garbage.
Yeah, I just I went to Mancini, and I was just like, if they're willing to throw their name on it, we'll test it out. I hope it's good. We'll see. Yeah. I got a Mancini orange box. It was pretty cheap. And then they had a regular, just a standard orange box for like $12, and I was like, I'm not that cheap. I'm cheap. I'm not that cheap. You know what I mean? I might buy one just to have an extra one, because like between that and ballast resistors, it seems like there's a nice little a safety net that you should bring with you on these little road trips. And I think an ignition box and a ballast resistor are at least two of the items I probably should bring with me.
But everyone always hates like my Duster, for instance, because it'll have a Chevy alternator, it'll have an MSD box. I have no problem running the Mopar distributor because I mean, you look inside of it, it's damn near the same thing as an MSD. Mm-hmm. But definitely those are like always my go-tos, just because if you want it dependable, you get away from that stuff. Those are the things that are always a problem, it seems like.
Absolutely. Well, we've got some other guys joining us in the chat. As expected, we've got Bud Mac. We'll bring him on. Hello. Bud, what's up, buddy? And of course, Johnny.
Hanging out.
Yeah. Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And we have infamous Johnny Mopars in the building.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
With a B body in the background.
Yeah, I got jealous. Everybody had their shit in the background. Well, it was time to step up. I have no idea if the reception was going to be good because it's pretty far from the Wi-Fi, but it looks good so far.
So far, so good, dude. Wait till I start live streaming from the boogie van. I'll go park in front of an elementary school and then I'll broadcast from outside that.
I'm on top of the waterbed or what?
Yeah, wait till the cops knock on the door.
Well, that's the thing. I was pissed and happy at the same time when my neighbor brought a boogie van home. He's got one of those Chevys, and I was like, this son of a bitch is copying me. And then I was like, well, at least now there's going to be two suspects. So. Right. And his runs. So at least I can say mine's been in the garage. It doesn't even run. So couldn't have been me. But yeah. So what's going on, Bud? You were here first. What's up, buddy? What do you got going on?
Well, not a whole lot. Just working on the boys' Charger and pulled the windshield out the other like Thursday night or Friday night last week. It has rot across the top of the windshield channel from the vinyl top I had. Okay. Luckily, the pillars look great. A little bit of pitting, but no rot. And then the where the pillars meet the cowl, a little bit of just small rot there I got to fix, but get that tidied up, and we can move on to the next little spot so we can start getting closer to paint.
Awesome. What's you sent me a couple pictures. It looks like you were out hunting, dude. What did you find?
So. Two different times this week for different things at work. The one was the two Dodge vans. You know more about them than I do. I don't know a lot about the vans.
Sure.
But the one was a Tradesman 100. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
And it was like super long, and it had just the two bubble windows in the back. And then the other one was a full window van, but it had a single door like yours does. I'm still trying to figure out who owns the property to see about trying to get some parts for you.
And that's crazy. So they're just on a piece of property?
Yeah. So what happened was like 100 tires got dumped on this dead end road, and we had to go clean them up.
Okay.
And right next to this is this old, just ran down house with just a bunch of old vehicles there. And you can see the vans. You can see like an old, well, not old, but 80s Power Wagon.
Wow.
A more modern Ram like I have, and then just some other odds and ends, but nothing muscle car wise that I could see. But so I was able to get a picture of the vans. That's about it.
Yeah.
It looked like something out of a movie. I didn't want to get shot or something. So
yeah, those vans are early 70s. The grill on that one is so hammered. I was like, what did they do? Cut it out so they could get to the radiator? So I can't tell.
I think so, because I don't think it has an engine in it. It's like they pulled it straight out of the nose. Just
Oh man.
And then that tin grill pickup, that was a different deal. I was out painting curbs, so you paint the curb in front of a fire hydrant so that so people don't park in front of them for one, but it's also easier for people to see. But anyhow, that was just sitting in the dryer for sale, and that sucker looks solid.
It did. I was like, wow. And I always, every time somebody sends me a picture of a tin grill, I always go directly to the rockers because that will usually tell you everything. And the rockers look pretty solid from what I saw. I was like, wow.
The whole truck is solid. I'd like to know what's in it, but
yeah,
$5,000 for a D200 that looks that nice. I think it's pretty well reasonably priced.
I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say it's a big block truck, but obviously got to find out some more information for $5,000.
Yeah, that's what I sent you, the picture of the for sale sign and the windshield there.
My money says it's 400. That's just me guessing, just a wild shot in the wind guess. I did look in the comments really quick, and I see Jesse said, are you guys watching Meekum this weekend? I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the convertible CUDA that we were talking about last time, the Hemi car, and what it's going to hammer for. I think I should go back to the live that we did when we talked about it, because the guesses were all over the place. The other Johnny Mopar was on that show, and he doesn't think it'll fetch 6. I thought, if I remember right, I said it would probably fetch around 6, but I don't know. In this market, it's crazy. But I don't
6.5 right now is what I saw last I saw.
Jesus. All right. Well, that will definitely take the record for Mopars, I believe. I'm pretty sure that will be the new record.
I just saw a thing tonight from Meekum Indy where they're getting all the cars staged, and they said that car hasn't showed up yet. So I don't know what that means, but obviously it's a week away, so there's time for it to get there. It's only in Chicago going to Indy, so.
Oh God, that's a scary ride. I would not want to be the transporter for that car. Like, nah, no thanks. God, could you imagine? Oh. I don't even want to put that into the universe. That would be a hell of a loss. Yeah, crazy, man. Keep me updated on those finds. Those are interesting. I love getting when you sent me those pictures of the vans, I was like, they're still out there. Sweet. You know, because I mean, dude, God, I don't even want to put this in the universe because I don't know if you guys have gone onto eBay and looked at these porthole windows for these friggin' vans. They are ludicrous. It's insane how much these portholes are going for. If they're NOS portholes, I've seen them go as much as $900. You know, so if you find out whose property it is, you might want to just pull those out and throw them on eBay.
My buddy Ryan said. I sent him the picture too, and he goes, "Well, just cut the windows out of the back of it and call it good."
Yeah.
But
yeah. Gosh, there's like a little market of guys on Instagram that I follow, and all they do, because apparently you guys in Southern California still have a shitload of surfer vans, and people just go specifically for the vans.
They're drying up. There's not as
are they?
As there used to be. Yeah.
Okay. I just see these guys, and all of a sudden they're just dropping all these parts, and they show pictures from like the little pick and pulls or whatever, and there's a bunch of vans, and they're just pulling just random parts out of these vans that they don't make anymore, and people buy them up quick. I've watched, and I'm like, how quick is that going to sell? Boom, gone. Like, wow. So I mean, if anybody sees any boogie vans and you can just snag parts off them, it's not a bad idea to just snag some parts and make a couple quick bucks. Unless you find a cheap ass like me who's like, I'll give you $20 for that. We got Johnny Mopar in the house. Johnny, what's up, buddy? Mr.
Not much, man.
No.
Just living the dream.
Yeah.
Trying to get a bunch of shit done in no amount of time with no money. So
hey, don't you talk to me about no money, Mr. Bringing another car home every friggin' weekend, okay?
I'm trying to see a pattern.
Hey, and when Mike Coffey's telling you that, Johnny, hey, this is your intervention, buddy. This is your intervention.
Hey, you know what? Mike Coffey is like the drug dealer. He just
the first one's on me.
Oh, that's too good.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a t-shirt that says support your local Mopar dealer.
I'll buy it.
Yeah. I'm going to make that one. That's funny. So Johnny, tell us what you brought home recently.
70 Coronet station wagon.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. John Jones has had it for forever. And when I first met him, he actually rolled up to my house. I was selling a 69 Dart 318 car, and he called me on it. And I'm standing out in front in the driveway, and he rolls up in this thing, and I'm just like, fuck, it's bad. Thing is slammed to the ground.
Oh, God.
Big fat tires underneath the back. I mean, as fat as you can get under a B body, not like tubbed or anything like that, but big block. Yeah, the thing just looks wicked cool. Yeah, and then I think Mike might know. Mazzolini. There's a guy that used to work there, Jason Mayo.
Yeah, the guy. Didn't he like rob a bank or some shit?
Yeah, he did. He did.
I heard about that. I don't know him personally, but
yeah, I mean he's a super cool dude. I don't know. My buddy Eric, he I think he talked to his dad or something. I don't know. There's some like weird shit, like he didn't take his insulin shot. He was a little loopy and went into the bank and was, I don't know, he was like, oh, show me the vault or something, and they construed that as you want to rob the place, and I don't know.
Of the list of things you don't say when you go into a fucking bank, one of them is don't show me the vault. Don't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
God,
but I guess his brother, I think, used to own that wagon because he was talking about it one time and he was telling me how it had 2 sway bars underneath the front of it, right? Or I was telling him about John's wagon or something. This is like years and years ago. And then John, when he got the car, at some point, he put 2 sway bars under the back. So the thing's got 4 sway bars on this car. And another friend of his I was bullshitting with one time, and he was like, you ever ride with John in that wagon? And I'm like, no. He goes, dude, that thing rides like it's on rails. He hauls ass in that car. So, yeah, it came up for sale. It came up relatively cheap, Yeah.
Is it going to get door handles back on it? Come on, man.
Probably. I mean, I would prefer the door handles, but, it's such a back burner. I mean, I think for starters, it would be when I could get to the car, put a drive chain in it and just roll it. It's pretty cool. He put a rally dash in it too. So it's got it's got like a Charger dash or, a 150 Speedo. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I mean, the seats, the seats look like, they look like a couch from the house, but they're obviously for a car, but I don't know where he got them from, but they were in the car. So
buckets.
Let me know when he gets to the outer ring.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Are you interested in a 70 wagon? Match your 440 or your RT?
You never know.
That would be sick.
Cool.
You know me, I'm always looking.
Dude, he used that wagon to haul cars and stuff like that. I don't know if you saw the video. What did he say? He hauled a Suburban or something like that on the back of that wagon. He's got leaf springs stacked up underneath it and overload springs. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It would look pretty cool with RT on the back, right?
Oh man, the thing is awesome. There's so much potential with that one. And I'm just like, Johnny's never gonna have time. So for those of us outliers, now Mike's there, and I'm like, well, there goes my chance. I'm never gonna get it.
I'm still waiting for the D100.
Oh man, I drove it today too. Drove it to work today. Yeah, I don't know, man. I
gotta break the chain with you and Dennis.
I think Dennis is done. I think he's finally done. I think I'm done selling it to him because every time I sell it to him, he's like, I'm over it. And I'm like, fuck, I already spent the money you gave me. So then I got to scrounge up the money to buy it back. So
that orange tin grill is pretty friggin' cool, dude. I like that truck.
So Ron, John's buddy Ron, he painted that truck and did all that fab work to that truck. Well over 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago or something. I remember seeing the truck there at John's shop. I was just like, man, this thing is fucking bad, And Ron took delivery of it and never did anything with it. It sat exactly like he never worked on it or whatever. And so many years go by, and then I don't know, John and him worked out a deal where Ron gave him the truck for work to do on one of his other cars or something like that. So, and then John wanted to sell me the truck and I was going to buy it from him. And then I think Ron, hopefully Ron is not watching this. I think Ron got upset that John was going to just sell it. He's like, I gave you that like a good deal because, buddy hookup type of thing or whatever. And then so John came back and said, I can't sell you the truck after all. And I'm like, all right, no big deal. I got too many cars anyway. So
my jealousy.
More home.
Yeah. My jealousy radar was going off. I'm like, Johnny Mopar, you just got it all. It's like, so it was killing me, but I was happy for you.
So I was in that video, right? That's when John drops that. He's like, I want to sell you the truck. And I'm like, oh, that was totally off my radar. I had no idea. And now it's like, bam. All right. I'm here to get the wagon. I already own the 70 Charger RT, right? It's buried in the back. And then there's a 68 Charger that my buddy Eric was going to buy off of him, but I don't know, whatever happened, Eric changed his mind. He didn't want it after all. So now I'm buying it. I don't know if you'd want it, Mike. It's a clip car. So
come on, I wouldn't want a Charger.
Well, this car is a clip car. It's somebody was gonna like tube chassis this car, I guess, at one time, and they cut from, I guess, like where the back floors are forward completely out, like everything, floors gone, firewall, frame, everything. So it's just the back half of the car was left. John got it pretty cheap. This is years and years ago. And then he picked up he had a 4-door Coronet, and he cut everything he needed from the 4-door off and spliced the two cars together. So he basically brought the Charger back to life as a street car.
Oh. So it has a front clip now?
Yeah, it's a complete car now. And it's man, I was listening to the video. I thought he said it was a 69. So I don't know if he changed, the corners on the 69 by the core support are different between 68 and 69. So I thought he said it was a 69. Hopefully he fixed that. I mean, knowing him, he did. But, it's got fenders on it and stuff. So at least I think it does. Oh, no, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, it's a 68 Charger. So I told him when Eric made the comment, because we were texting, the three of us, and Eric said that, I don't know if I want it or something like that. And then I said, if Eric doesn't want it, I want it. So, or if Eric's over it, then I want it. And then Eric texted back, I'm over it. So I'm like, cool. So that's mine. So I some videos of that I'm probably going to add to the end of other videos. I got a few John Jones little clips left to add to some future videos, maybe at the end. So we're talking about the Chargers and stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely some content there. I was watching that video like, holy shit. I was because John Jones, I mean, you've talked about him plenty of times on the podcast. So he's kind of like this mythical Mopar creature.
like Dennis McKay.
yeah.
Who is in the building and calling you guys out.
He's been texting me.
Oh, is he? So he's watching.
He heard about the D100 comments.
Well, he can have it back. This time I'm going to charge him $8,000 for it, though. That way he won't be interested, and then I won't have to sell it back to him and buy it back from him and all that stuff.
And then I'll just give you $8,000 for it.
Oh, you're killing me, Mike. Oh, man. Anyways.
Gosh. Yeah, wheelers and dealers. I sit back and I'm just like, one day I'm going to be in this conversation. The day that I can battle with Mike Coffey for a car, I will feel like a success. Even if I lose. Because I'll probably lose. Right. Let's be honest here. But I'll be like, hey, I was in the battle. I just want to be able to buy something and put it up for sale, just so I can be like, hey guys, this one's actually mine. And if you don't like the price, fuck off. Like I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, all you gotta do is just start small. Find an A body for cheap or find parts. All the time I'll look around my garage and I go, man, I got this part, this part, this part. that's enough to buy another car. And I scrounge up parts and I turn parts into another car and that car into a better car. And it's just,
I was in the position before I bought the Mr. Norm truck where I had the cash, and Mike, you and I talked plenty about getting a car. And then the guy who I bought the van from also had a tin grill truck, and I was going to buy the van and a tin grill from him for a package deal. And I was actually wondering if I was going to flip the van or if I was going to flip the truck, because I didn't want to keep them both. So I was like, all right, I give him a package deal. I'll flip one of them and then start from there, because that's what you told me. You said start small, and I'm like, all right, I got rid of my 2 cars, I've got some cash there and I've got some other cash, it's time to play. And then I had to go buy that damn truck. And so now we're back at square one. So that's where we're at now, but we'll see. This my friend, he's like my John Jones. He's got a bunch of, like, I finally got to go inside his building, and he's got shit everywhere. I got all sorts of pictures. And then he tells me it's like it's like a 2-level building. So the bottom, like, you drive down onto this piece of property, there's a building, and there's like an upper level and then a lower level. I've always gone to the lower level, and I've only been there twice now. But like right as we're ending our conversation, I'm about to leave. He tells me about the Barracudas or the Cudas that he has. And I was like, oh, where are those? And he goes, oh, they're upstairs. And I was like, in this building here? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, well, fuck, let's go look at him. And he's like, and I'm like, I just sat here and entertained you for an hour. You know what I mean? So I gotta beat him down a little bit. I know he's gonna be listening to this, so I'm gonna get in there, dude. I'm gonna get in there. But he's got a lot of cool stuff, and he actually has this RV, right? This Dodge RV. And I didn't even think about it last time I was there, because at the time I didn't have a van. And I was like, hey, is that a Dodge RV? And he goes, oh yeah. And I go over there, and like, it looks a little trashed from the back, but you go to the front, and the front end of this thing is immaculate. I opened the door and I was like, dude, I need these seats. It's got like those Ram Charger buckets in it. And like, I have a set, but mine are trashed. And these have perfect brown. Oh God, I want them so bad. And the grill is perfect on this thing. I was like, hey, let's work a deal on this. And then he's got an 80s van with the square front, and he's got those super rare Dodge boogie van floor mats, the rubber ones, the originals. And I have every single one except for the 2 fronts, and he's got the 2 fronts, and I'm like, hey, how much for the mats? And of course he know some guys, when they realize they have something you want, it becomes a game. And I'm like, are you gonna fucking sell them or not? You know what I mean?
These old things.
Yeah. I'm like, damn it, dude. And he knows I want them, because I gotta play the buyer, like, hey, are you interested in selling them? And how much do you want? And he's yeah. These old things, yeah.
That's where sometimes, though, if you just throw that big number out there, I mean, if you threw $100, maybe he's not thinking that much, and then that gets you in the door and gets him. I tell people that all the time. People try to tell me, oh, I've been trying to buy this car forever. And it's like, yeah, you're trying to buy a '69 Charger for $2,000. Go offer them $15,000, and all of a sudden their gears start turning, and they're like, oh wow, and you're still getting a fair price.
Unless you're like me and you actually, for the first time in your life, you have a stack of fucking cash, a stack, and you go to the 70 Challenger that you've heard about from other guys at work. They tell you all about it, and you're like, I'm going there with cash, baby, and it's happening. And you go there, and you go, I'll give you $17,000 right now for this car. And he goes, 30. And you go, fuck, really? Shit.
I had a similar one a couple weeks ago. I went to go out of town to go look at a car, a '69 Charger that was actually an RT, pretty good car. Made an offer on it, and he's going to let me know. And as we're driving away, under a car cover, you might have seen it, I think I posted on my Instagram, but under a car cover, there was an orange 70 Challenger. And I always send my wife up to the door because she's a realtor. So instantly, and she's not a big, ugly, tattooed guy that's, threatening. So I send her to the door, that and I'm a chicken. But anyway, she comes back and comes out with this guy, and he's got a Mopar hat on, and we start talking. And he's owned the car since, I think it was 1971. And he's like, I think I'm finally ready to sell it. It's been sitting 5 or 6 years. Neat car. It was a factory orange car. A lot of SE options, but not an SE. I don't know if maybe the dealer did it to church it up, but it was a slant 6 3-speed car.
Really?
And he still has the slant 6 in it. And I ended up, I think I offered him, by the time I left, I think I offered him 20 for it. And
Oh shit! He cuts off at the best part.
Oh man!
I thought that was me for a second. I was like,
same.
oh.
Nobody moved, so I was like, "Oh, we all froze."
I was intrigued. I was sitting there like,
all you guys were sitting still. I'm like,
I was getting ready to go. Did you fucking cheap asses hear that? 20 grand for a slant 6 car. Damn it, Mike! Of all the times you have to cut off.
Oh no,
He's still frozen.
Yeah. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh, he's back. Okay. All right.
I don't know where I lost you.
We lost you right as soon as you said 20
grand.
and then it was frozen.
So I offered him 20 grand, and I had cash in the truck with me because I was planning on going to get this Charger. And it was almost like he didn't believe me. That he might even be watching, because it turned out when it was all said and done, I gave him my wife's card, and he saw my last name, and he goes, "Hey, I've seen you on Facebook." He goes, "Everybody always talks smack to you." And he goes, "I like you. You don't let anybody give you any shit." It's super cool, dude. And I mean, I'm hoping at some point maybe he'll hit me up, because it was a beautiful car. It'd been repainted, interior had been redone, but I mean, just total driver with the slant 6 in it.
I don't know if you caught what I said when you were frozen, Mike, but I said, "See, you cheap asses out there, 20 grand for a slant 6 car." So don't go telling me that these more sought after cars, the RTs, are not worth the money that people are asking for them.
Well, I mean, and think about it. This was a factory orange car, one repaint, no rust anywhere on the car. The car was like beautiful. I mean, this car, you could pluck the 6-cylinder, put a 440, put a Hemi, put a 340, whatever. Already had the 4-speed pedals, already had the floor hump. I mean, it was perfect. And I mean, as a driver, you could take the car, and I think the car, is probably, once it's turnkey and up and running again, 25, 28, probably all day long. But yeah, a lot of people probably wouldn't see it that way because it's a slant 6, but go buy another one, buy an original from California that hasn't been fucked with.
That's why I like talking to you, Mike, because you're an actual flipper. And the people that talk shit about the prices, I'm not a flipper. So I can sit there and go, "Well, do you have any experience in buying and selling cars at all? Or are you just talking out of your ass?" And I think a lot of them are talking out of their ass.
In my defense, I'm an enthusiast first. The flipping just is what funds it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not the guy that has a Chevy Camaro, even though I have a Chevy powered boat behind me. But I love the cars, but I know I can't keep them all. I know I can't afford to have them, even the ones that I have. So the only way I'm gonna have them is if I'm finding them clean.
Frozen again.
All right.
Well, until there he goes. He's back. Yeah.
Service sucks ass out here.
It's actually been pretty good so far. I've been impressed.
I got a question for Mike, if that's all right.
Go for it, dude.
All right, so my wife's cousin bought a 70 Challenger new. He still owns it. FK5, 2-barrel 383 automatic. A little bit of rust in the trunk. It's been repainted once. The interior has been done, but it's not correct. What would you think that would kind of be ballpark? He's not looking to sell it. If you're going to walk up and offer the guy something, a fair market value price, what do you think it'd be?
How are the quarters? How's the roof? How's around the back?
Good, all good. That's always been inside. It was his daily driver for quite a while, being that they were young and married when they bought the car new. And then beyond that, it's always been taken care of. It's just the trunk has gotten away from being an Iowa car. But other than that, everything else looks pretty straightforward. So
it's original paint.
That's been repainted once.
So, but it shows well, or looks correct color and all that. Yeah, yep. I mean, I would think, probably somewhere in the upper 20s, mid to upper 20s would probably be my thought.
I told him it'd be 20 to mid 20s, just because I wasn't sure. I don't do it for a living. And he's like I say, he's not looking to sell. He was just like, when I bought this car, I didn't know I'd be holding on to it the entire time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, your return on investment will be pretty good if you decide to get rid of it. But
I think some of it too. I mean, I think I'm definitely at a little bit of an advantage being in Southern California, because the market out here, I mean, people are willing to spend more money, and there's definitely the quality of the cars here. I mean, that's one thing, when people get on there and they see my ads and they start talking smack, they don't realize how good me and Johnny have it. I mean, the cars that we get, it's a whole different level. You know, this Challenger, like I say, when I say there was no rust, there's never been any rust in this car in any body. You know, even my 70 Coronet, same thing. It had one little spot by the back window. Aside from that, the floorboards look like they were freshly repainted because it's that clean.
Nice.
And, you know, we're pretty spoiled out here. So, and to me, those kind of cars are definitely worth a premium. I mean, if you've messed with changing out floorboards and body panels, that shit sucks. And the cars are never the same afterwards. So,
hey, Matt's listening right now.
Oh, I'm just over here like, I wonder how much I can get for a Swiss cheesed out 71 Duster with nothing in it.
Swiss cheesed out 71 RT Charger.
I got one of those Dusters too.
One, Mike? Just one?
I'm back to one. I sold the big tire car.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so I'm basically the guy that did Dennis's Charger is taking my car. He's doing a full chromoly 850 cert cage, chute mount, harness mounts, pretty much doing everything. I'm probably gonna have him do trans mount, and it's supposed to go in the end of this month. So hopefully that car's gonna be coming along pretty good.
Wait, are we talking about the black one that you got? What are we talking about here? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the black one. So it's got the motor that I put in the blue car. I put it back in the black car. It's a 500-inch motor with Indy SRs. They made 650. It's got a hydraulic roller. It's pretty much a mild street motor with nitrous, obviously, just because that's what I do. But and it's got the Riley Motorsports front clip under it. A guy out here local that also just did Dennis's Duster. He did the mini tubs. Got all Cal Tracker suspension. I'm doing it on a 2810 just because that's real big right now on all the grudge street race stuff out here. So I'm hoping it should be a pretty fun car. Should be nice and lightweight, and I'm hoping to get it somewhere in the upper 8-second range. So
nice. Now we're talking. Anthony in the house. What's up, Anthony? This is the first time you've been on the show, so tell everybody watching and listening who you are, what you do. I know you got a YouTube channel. It's pretty fun. So give us a little rundown, buddy.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name's Anthony Jimenez. I have a YouTube channel called Tales from the Junkyard. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may not. But this kind of automotive journey of trying to maintain my Barracuda behind me here and trying to keep it running, trying to do what I can with the budget I'm afforded, I guess, is what the best I can do it. I have a long history with Mopars, so just trying to chronicle that as best as I can. Really,
awesome.
What I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I remember you sent it. Yeah, of course. I remember you sent in your listener's story, and I felt bad because it took me so friggin' long to get to it. And I was like, damn it. I feel like a jerk. You were one of the ones where I was like, this guy fucking hates me. But we got to your story. We got to your story, and here you are on Direct Connection. So we've come full circle.
Hey, so thanks for having me on, honestly. That was pretty cool. So
yeah,
I'm glad you read the whole thing. I'm sorry.
I'm glad that I got your last name right, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, watch me wait this long to tell the poor guy's story, and then I get his name wrong. I butcher his fucking name. How is that? I was like, oh man. Yeah. But I nailed it. And I was like, oh, thank God. But people don't understand. When I'm reading those, I'm like, God, I wish they would have given me a breakdown of how to say it. And I'm like, especially all my buddies in Norway and Sweden and Switzerland, love you guys. Can't pronounce your names for shit. Sorry. We're going to have a full house here. We're going to have a full house. We've got a couple other guys coming in. This is going to be fun. This might be the record show of how many people are on, so it could be a disaster. We don't know. But you guys are all free to chime in whenever. Obviously we don't want to be talking over each other like crazy, but it is what it is, and we're going to have some fun. So Marcos, Dust or Bust, is in the house. Let's bring him on.
Record show.
Nice.
Hey, buddy, what's up?
So, Marcos.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Anthony.
What's going on, man?
Tell us who you are, what you're about, what you got going on.
All right, cool.
Some fun. So Marcos, Dust or Bust, is in the house. Let's bring him on.
Well, I'm getting like crazy delays and stuff. It's probably my connection. Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, what's up? Good to see you guys.
What you're about.
Yeah, cool. So I got I'm getting a terrible terrible lag on my stuff. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting like crazy delays and stuff.
You can say that again.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
I am. Let me
Cool. So I got.
let me see if I can set. Move on. Come back to me.
I'm gonna mute you for now. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, okay? If you can, hardwire it to Ethernet. I used to have the same problems doing Wi-Fi. Even when it said I had a good connection, it would screw me over. So we'll bring you back on in a few minutes. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, okay? Oh, God, there's the feedback again. Hardwire it to Ethernet. I used to have the same problems doing Wi-Fi. Even when it said I had a connection, it would screw me over. So who is that? We'll bring you back on in a few minutes. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, okay? Oh, God, there's the feedback again. This is a disaster. Hold on. Everybody, hold on. We're gonna isolate where this feedback's coming from. Oh, God, there's the feedback again. This is a disaster. Holy shit. Oh, welcome to live production. What is happening right now? Okay, you're all muted and it's just me now. You get to listen to me, guys. Okay, one at a time here. All right, Matt, bringing you on.
Hello.
Okay, all right, good. For those of you listening on the podcast, I'm sorry, this is a shit show right now, but that's okay. We're going to bring Mike back in. No feedback. Bud in. No feedback. Johnny in. No feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. Podcast, I'm sorry, this is a shit show right now, but that's okay. It's you. We found him. Turn the volume down on your computer because I think we're picking it up through your microphone. Yes. The worst train wreck ever. Okay. Still getting feedback. Dillian, turn your computer down and try to get the audio strictly through your headphones, okay? Irvin in the house.
Yo.
We're going to add you to the stream, buddy. What's up?
How's it going, brother?
Good, man. Good. Tell us, for those folks listening and those folks in the chat that are watching, tell us who you are, what you're about. Obviously, share your socials and YouTube channel if you have one.
So I've got a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Kind of can't say I'm a somebody. Kind of fairly new in the Mopar.
Okay.
Community. I have a 2007 Dodge Charger, so I'm over here listening to everyone talk about all these classics, and you guys are getting me all wet here. I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna come in this chat with a 2007 Dodge Charger. Like, what about my story? I got no story. Like, compared to these guys, especially driving Mopar.
See, that's the thing about talking Mopars, though, is that all things Mopar, as long as you're an enthusiast, I don't care. I would have a Honda guy on the show if he's like, I hate my fucking Civic. I want a Mopar. I'd be like, well, let's talk through it, buddy. We'll figure out how we need to go in and ask to see the vault in a bank, and then maybe we can get you some money, and we'll get you a Mopar.
Be careful how you ask it.
Yeah. Hey, and if you do, don't bring in finger guns, okay? You know what I mean? Like, give me all your money. Like, oh gosh.
Ronnie's hanging out with the rough crowd nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're
Freaking Mike.
Dylan, we do have a closet on the podcast, so we're gonna go ahead and remove him for a second until he comes back on. All right. We're back. So Irvin, how long have you been watching Talking Mopars or known about the page and stuff?
I want to say maybe mid-April. I mean, I remember I got a hold of you, and I was like, I'm a big podcast guy, listening to podcasts. I listen to different podcasts, and I caught on to all the podcasts, and I got bored. I caught myself listening to other podcasts, and then I was like, is there any car-related podcasts out there? And then sure enough, I just searched Mopar, and then the next you know it, Talking Mopar. And there's like over 70 episodes at the time, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go through all of them.
Nice.
And it did. I would listen to them all day at work, and it took me maybe, I would say, a few weeks, like 2 weeks maybe, I got through all of them. It was
Nice.
ridiculous.
Yeah, man, that's intense.
So that's where all the downloads came from. I was like, oh boy. Oh man, that's
It's
awesome,
crazy.
dude.
It's crazy hearing you guys talk because you can relate to it. In all these stories, everyone else's Mopar story, it touches home. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I know earlier in some of your podcasts, you would say that, oh, share your story. I'm gonna leave my number. You guys can call, leave a little voicemail, and stuff like that. And I was just listening to like episode 12 and 15, 30, and I'm wondering, like, I wonder if he's still doing that. I'm like, I want to call and leave my. And then sure enough, well, what is it, episode 70 or like very at the end, I'm just like, oh yeah, he's still doing it. Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah, we're still here.
Tad always hits him up. Hey, that's what's missing tonight. We don't have Tad.
Tad, I think I have a couple messages I haven't played from him yet. I do, man. He's such a character. I loved having him on the show. I want to get him back on. He was going to talk about how he restored the Super Bee in his garage with basic tools and nothing too crazy, because we wanted to bring some people on that have actually restored cars. And I mean, everybody here's touched them. You know what I mean? Irvin, you'll get into the game soon, dude. I imagine you're gonna get something soon, dude. I imagine. We'll see.
Irvin, just make up a story and send it in now, because it's going to take Chris a few months to get to it. So by then you'll have a car.
Well, and I've had my 2007 Dodge Charger for about 2 years now. I got it and only had 71,000 miles, and 5.7 Hemi, so it's an RT. Okay. And not even, I would say, 3 months later, it dropped a valve seat.
Of course.
On the bank 2 passenger side, on cylinder 6, it dropped a valve seat, and it's the craziest thing because it didn't. I wasn't driving; the car wasn't in motion, and the valve seat just dropped. It literally happened at startup. When I tried starting the car would not start. It was down the street almost. I was picking up my daughter, and the car wouldn't start, and I couldn't figure out why. And so the car would not run. I had to bring it home, pedal it home, and park it in the back. And then sure enough, I thought maybe so it was something sparked, because it wouldn't fire at all. So there was no ticking or knocking. I didn't know what it was. So what I ended up doing a compression test, and I found out that cylinder 6 had no compression whatsoever. And well, that's what fun is, and you need to take things apart. And it was my first rebuild. Not my first job working. Not my first time working on a car. I'm a mechanic. Okay. And so I took out the intake manifold, you can hear shit rattling inside of it. So I was like, crap. No. And it's a pre-Ego 5.7 with a like that plastic, nasty looking intake manifold. So I took that out, and after you took out the intake manifold, you can actually see the intake port. And then sure enough, on cylinder 6, you can see that valve seat hanging for dear life. And it was time to take off the head. And when I took off that head on that passenger side, I actually took off both heads to make sure there was no other valve seat. But I took off that head, and the piston was tore up, the head was tore up. Luckily, the car was not running. I mean, it was just starting up. I mean, it was just the starting car, so the piston walls were not damaged at all.
Nice.
The piston head was shot, and the head itself was fucked up. And I had a few choices, and everyone kept telling me just buy a used motor or whatever. And I was like, why am I going to buy a used motor if the same issue exists? Right? It's just going to happen eventually. You know what I'm saying? So what I ended up doing, and they also said I can take it into a machine shop and get my heads machined or whatever. There's a shop in Texas that sell new heads, new heads for my that pre-Ego 5.7. They're like $500 as long as for the pair. So I got those for $500, and they have the valve seat issue fixed. So they have, I don't know if it's oversized valve seat, or they're special coated, or they're pressed differently, but they're pretty much to prevent the valve seat, drop. Like,
nice.
Period. So I bought those, put those on, and I got the car started up. I did all that in one day. I think it was my birthday. It was 1:00 in the morning, and it was January 5th, and I did it all by myself, just putting on those heads and starting up my car. There was no feeling like it, dude. It was just amazing. What made that valve seat drop? It was the bank through catalytic converter was clogged. So
really?
It caused heat, and with that heat, eventually, getting so hot, cold, or whatever, apparently that's when the valve seat dropped. I had to change that cat as well.
Interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, that's pretty much what started me getting really into these Mopars. I was a fan way before then too. I don't know if you guys watched NCIS or if you guys heard of it. That show.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Special Agent Gibbs. He was driving that Charger, and it's a Hemi.
Yeah.
He's all about it. All the episodes, he's always the one driving. He wouldn't let anyone else drive him. And in the show, his dad even has that 1970 Dodge Challenger. It's yellow and it's a 426 Hemi, and it shows it in the show. And that's when I was like, dude, I want one of those Chargers. But that Challenger was like his childhood car or whatever, and I guess his dad kept it. Anyways, that's totally different story.
Huh.
But yeah, man. I mean, other than that, dropping that valve seat, my like I would say maybe 5 months later, my car also spun a rod.
Oh shit.
Yeah, dude. So.
Hey, Irvin, somebody's asking what's the company name that sells those Hemi heads?
See, that sucks because I found the vendor through eBay, and everyone keeps asking me that, and I always got to just go back and look it up. But I know it's in Texas, and they're pretty cheap. It's $500 for brand new heads, and they have that valve seat issue fixed. You just got to make sure you tell them that one of your heads has that EGR port, because some cars don't have that EGR, and I think that's it. And they say that you buy the heads, they send you the new head, and when you get your new head and you keep the box, you put your old ones in there for a core exchange. If you don't return your old heads, you pay I think $300.
Okay.
But I need to get back on that company for sure, because everyone keeps asking me, and I keep telling them like,
yeah.
I just told you.
That's hey, you got the biggest problem on those engines figured out though. That was the biggest issue on them. And I am curious to see what company it is, because $500 isn't too bad. And I know that mine, the 06 Hemi I have is pre-Eagle too. And when I got it, when I started tearing it down, I took the heads off and I realized that it had a little remanufactured block sticker on it. And I got it with blown head gaskets, or one blown head gasket. So when I pulled the heads off, I checked, everything seems good, but I don't trust the heads. You know what I mean? So I've always been wanting to, if I don't sell the engine, because now I'm thinking about selling it, because now I have an Eagle headed 5.7. So I'm like, I guess I really don't need the other one, but I also have a van now too. So I'm like, maybe I'll put it in the van. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Broke that pre-Eagle. 392.
You know, I've been thinking about it. I mean, I got them. You know, I bought the engine for $100, and it came with everything. So, aside from the transmission, I have everything. Full chassis, harness, all the little computers. I was like, fuck, how many computers does this thing have? Because the guy just started because I saw it on OfferUp for $100, and it just said a Hemi core basically. So I was like, okay. I go over there and he just starts unloading parts. He's like, you want this? You want this? I looked at him. I said, I'll take it all. Just load my truck. Whatever you don't want, I'll take it. And I'll figure it out. Because I wasn't going to need it all. And I was like, I'll just start selling off the little parts, and hopefully I'll end up with a free Hemi. I've had it for like 2 years and I haven't sold a damn thing. So, but that's the way it goes. Yeah. But you're in Mopars now. So we'll see what happens with that. It's funny that you're still into Mopars, because some people will be like, oh yeah, I want a Charger. They get a Charger and they start the thing starts falling apart on them. They're like, all right, see ya. I'm going to go get a Mustang or some shit.
Yeah. No, I one of your podcasts you mentioned about go getting a Scat Pack, and what happened to you with that, they ran your credit and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing happened to me not that long ago when I went to go trade in my Charger for a newer Challenger R2.
Okay.
And dude, the $560 a month for 63 months.
Yeah.
And the car was $21,000. So if you do the math, that's $36,000 around there. So how much interest really paying?
Yeah, no shit.
It's ridiculous.
The sales gal that screwed me over that day sent me a birthday card and email. I was like, oh, I was so fucking pissed. I was like, really? Oh, I know it was like automatically generated, but I'm sure like it was.
Said I ran your credit again. Are you sure you don't want it?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
You'll delete your name, but okay.
Yeah, God, I was so mad about that. But moving on, we got Marcos in the house. Dust or bust? What's up? Let's get you on now. Tell us your story, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, I clearly don't know much about technology, which is why I like 70s cars. So,
well, hey, you're in and you sound good, and we don't hear any feedback anymore. So that's the nature
sweet.
of the beast. You're on.
Yeah,
so
there you go. So, hey, Chris, thanks for having me on. First time we actually talk. So, we're in the little chat group together, but good to be on. Yep. So me, I am kind of regular Joe, and just decided, kind of always had this like one day I'm going to work on cars thing, and I decided, why wait for one day? Time to get started. So I actually started working on my Duster. So I got a 74 Duster that I'm working on. Okay. I started working on it back when I was like a teenager. Just started like pulling shit apart. And didn't know what the hell I was doing, just started pulling shit apart. And then I basically moved off to college after a few months of ripping it down to mostly down to the body. And then I moved away and forgot about it for like the better part of 20 years. And then my mom was like, oh, I'm going to have the car moved again. And I was like, oh, shit. I left her with this burden of taking apart cars. So I was like, all right, well, now's the time. So went, picked up my Duster, hauled it up to Ohio where I live now. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, so I heard a few other Texans on the call. So hauled it up to Ohio, started working on it. So I got my channel, Duster Bus, just small, just kind of doing my thing, trying to build a car, trying to learn everything as I go. I never done it before, so just try to learn and build stuff and make some videos, just kind of hoping to inspire other newer guys just to get in there and get started. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. I have to ask. What? Oh, he's gone. I have to ask. So you're from Texas, right? What made you go to Ohio? Because I'm trying to go to Texas, and I like to talk to people that have left, and I'm like, hey, why'd you leave? What do I not know?
No, I hate the heat. No, that's not fully true. Work, I was going to school down there. I actually went to school in Las Cruces, New Mexico State, and then I got a job. They hired me out. I actually spent 5 years at a factory in Missouri, and then just kind of jumped around and ended up in Cincinnati. So.
Okay. Were you always a Mopar guy, or did the Duster just fall in your lap and that's what you decided to build?
I like segments of just about every car company.
Sure.
I really like Mopar cars though. I think from a car standpoint, I got to go with the Mopars. But yeah, I'm not entirely Mopar, but I do love Mopar cars, especially kind of the pre-80s stuff. But some of the new stuff too. If I had the money for it, I'd be looking at some of those newer ones as well. But yeah, nothing specifically drove me that direction.
Yeah, right on. General car enthusiast. I'm a car enthusiast too. I just always joke and I say I have a fetish for Mopars. That's it. So that's what I roll with. But I like hearing stories about guys that are just firing up their first project car. You got your project car and you fired up a YouTube channel as well. That's fun. YouTube is the reason I started releasing a bunch of content that I've had just sitting around for YouTube to boost up the channel, because I have so much content and I just haven't put it on YouTube. I put one of them on YouTube right now. Immediately I get a strike against me because the music, the intro music that I use, I have full rights to it. I bought the rights to it and it still triggered it on YouTube. So now I have to prove I have the rights, and the company that I got the rights to the music from, they have 30 days to respond. So now I'm sitting here in limbo with these videos because it sent me a message. YouTube sent a message or gave me a message that said, even though you're not monetized right now, once you get monetized, you're not going to see any of the money for that video. It's going to go straight to the person who created the music, unless you can prove you have exclusive rights. So I halted everything until I can, and I have the paperwork to prove it. So I'm just waiting to hear back from YouTube. But that was like 15 or 16 days ago. So now I'm still waiting, and it's kind of pissing me off, to be honest. But yeah, YouTube is a tough nut to crack, I've noticed, but there are certain strategies, and I don't really care about monetizing YouTube. My big goal is just to get more people to listen to the podcast and to get on these lives. I do want to build the channel up because I do have the power to live stream from both Facebook and YouTube, but I don't have a big enough following on YouTube. Most of the people that know about my YouTube know the Facebook page, so I'm just kind of hanging out here for a while until I mean, who knows? Facebook may not even, or YouTube may not even pop off for me. It might just be some place that I put content, hopefully driving traffic to the podcast. So we'll see. But YouTube is fun. It's fun, but it's definitely there's so much content out there. It's like, you know, you can get lost in the shuffle really quick unless you have something that, you know, you have to have those niches. Like, yeah. And if someone's got a 74 Duster, they're going to look up. I mean, I looked up 78 Dodge van. I didn't look up custom van. I just wanted to see who was building 78. So there's people out there. And then, you know, I don't know what the trick is other than saying, hey, like junkyard stuff. People love junkyard stuff. The most views I've had on any of my Facebook videos are with me walking around pick and pull, just talking shit. I'm like, 6,000 views? Well, I didn't say shit. Like, all right. So it's the weirdest thing, but YouTube is definitely, yeah. It's just tough for me because when you get into multiple channels, like it's almost like pick one to focus on and then kind of let stuff go to the other ones and just see what happens with them, because it's like I've invested so much time into Facebook that now I'm kind of stuck here, even though I've wanted to leave a long time ago, because of all the BS surrounding Facebook, but now I'm stuck, so I just have to ride it out. So we'll see. But, you might get famous like Johnny Mopar and have people like Steve Dulcich come into your house and buying parts off you.
One day,
that'd be awesome.
One day I can meet Dulcich. That's the goal.
Yeah, that guy. I would love to just talk to that guy. He's got so much experience and all that fun stuff. What do you guys think? I mean, I know that Uncle Tony and the Roadkill guys now have some sort of a beef going on, and part of me wants to hate on them and go, yeah, no, I'm not going to fall into this celebrity bullshit. I know what you guys are doing. But then the other part of me is like, I don't really want to pick a side. I just kind of want to grab the popcorn and watch the shit show and go, hey, you guys, of all the things, you're going to build two shitty 318s. And it's not that I don't like 318s. Well, I mean, Uncle Tony's sitting there like acting like he's broke. It's like, hey, dude, you're not fooling anybody. We know you're pulling in some money, okay? You know, because he's like, oh, with a big corporation, blah, blah, blah. It's not like Motor Trend's like, hey, crush this guy. Here's $1 million. Go build the baddest 318 you can. Like, come on, Tony. Come on. And I like them both. I like Uncle Tony. I like his content. So I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying how ridiculous this shit is. You know, it's like, I know Uncle Tony's making some money. You seen that shop? You think that's cheap? I know it's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee or whatever, but come on.
That's a nice shop.
I've seen the amount of, just based on what little I know about CPM and stuff like that, as far as, for those of you that don't know, this might be a little bit boring, but if you're on YouTube and you get monetized, you get ad revenue. And I believe on YouTube, it's paid much like Facebook in CPM, which is cost per milli, which is 1,000. So how much you get paid per 1,000 views. And I've seen the amount of views Tony's channel gets. So he has to be rolling in, 5 figures a month, I'd imagine. If it's not 5 figures, then he might be doing something wrong. But I'm curious to see where this goes. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win this thing?
My vote's Dulcich.
First of all, you're going to put the... Yeah, Dulcich. I mean, really.
What?
So real quick, I saw Tony's list of demands and stuff, and then in the end he's like I expect you guys to cheat because I'm gonna cheat. So it's like I don't know. I think it would if they were legitimately going to go after it. I think it would be cool if they just supplied like 2 equal blocks, 2 equal cranks, rods, pistons, like, leave it open to certain things, like maybe even the camshaft's the same, but like say porting, Tony wants to reverse the pistons and stuff in it, go ahead, whatever like tweaks you can make internally, will really show like your I guess niche or expertise, or whatever your little funky things that you can make more power out of. I think that would be the way to go. I mean, and I think it'd be a win-win, honestly. Because I think Dulcich would crush him, but and I like Uncle Tony, but I think he would crush him. But even if Uncle Tony took a stock 318 and did a bunch of crap to it, and it still made like nice power, it's like, well, okay. Hey, we just took this 318 and it made 350 horse, and Dulcius made, 375 horse, let's just say. I mean, that's a win-win. Whether you built the motor this way or that way, and you can take the best of both worlds and kind of put them together and learn something, I think it'd be pretty awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't love the idea, like the way that they poise the test. It's not even like take 2 stock 318s. It's like take 2 random junk 318s.
Yeah.
And like, who knows what you get? Like, you may get a total piece of crap. Or since
it's rusted in there and it's stuck, that like, oh well, that's your problem. That's the one you picked.
Right. Or realistically, they're going to open it ahead of time. They're going to put some good parts in it and be like, oh, I got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tony is.
I mean, the realistic way you can do it somewhat fairly is just to go, okay, let's build a couple 318s, but let's put a limit on the cost of the build. And whatever you can do with that cost. I mean, if you've got some tricks that you can apply and then save some money elsewhere to use on something else, I think that would be better. Because that way it kind of opens the door. I mean, if you start with 2 core 318s and say, okay, you got a limit of $5,000 and you provide receipts, then it becomes, okay, I'm going to prove how much better I am because I'm going to do it for $3,000 and still whoop their ass. You know what I mean? That's where you can brag, because you can go, all right, well, I won. Here are my receipts. I only paid $3,000. So, I mean,
that would be Johnny's idea.
Oh, well, you don't like mine, bud? What the fuck?
Hey, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that goes
better. Well, I had a better idea.
That always providing receipts leads to mishandling of receipts as well. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that's true.
Like Johnny, touch on Johnny's subject is maybe put them in a room for a week, or a room, but a shop for a week. They're provided the same stuff, and it's just based on their knowledge of how they can squeeze every little bit of horsepower out from there, while they're being scrutinized by some sort of a staff. That's going to make it as heads up as possible.
Well,
and they get a show out of it.
And Tony did say something at the end too about like, okay, we got to tear the motors apart at the end. So you run them on the dyno, you make your power numbers, and then you got to tear them down to prove like, you didn't put in some gigantic cam or something, sneaky like that, or a nitrous system through the block or something, So I think you could, if you did that part of it, you wouldn't have to monitor them really. You could just say, go, here's the parts. We're going to supply them. They're equal. They've all been spec'd out. Anything beyond that, you could do whatever the hell you want to. And then you run them on the dynos, and then you just tear them down. And the guys sit there and, mic out the cam or whatever, check the cylinder bore size, check the stroke, make sure they're not cheating, or they stayed within the rules, and then go from there,
Yeah, I like that idea.
I still think Dulcich should win.
I think Tony's probably watching this. He's going to be pissed at all of us. These fucking assholes.
Do you think that Roach is actually going to answer him back at all? I mean, do you think they're even going to say anything about it?
Yeah.
Well, one of you on our what do you call it? Where we communicate. Somebody put I think Adam did. He posted
the response.
The response from Dulcich saying, he basically said, "Hey Tony," and he posted Tony's picture, I guess, and he says, "PM me."
Yeah. He said, "Hey Tony, we can turn this into a show and make some money, buddy." call me. Okay?
I don't think he said that, but that is probably what he meant.
Yeah, if Tony's pissed off that we're talking about him, I'm just going to send him a carton of cigarettes, and hopefully that'll bury the hatchet. Tony, I do like you, dude. I'm not talking shit. I think it would be entertaining, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think Dulcet's got something to win. I mean, he's got something to gain from this because he does have Motor Trend, right? He's doing all the roadkill stuff, but he also has his own channel. He's just started on YouTube, and it looks like it's pretty independent of Motor Trend. So if he wants to build his channel, I mean, he's got a lot to gain from Uncle Tony, And then I think if that matchup happened and that those guys did do something, I think it would help both.
I'd like to know about the Motor Trend contracts because there's a certain somebody that I told, hey, come on the show, because we had a little disagreement. And I thought we buried the hatchet. And I was like, I've always wanted you to come on the show anyway. I had planned to have you on the show. And he kind of big timed me. And I was like, oh, he's like, oh, my Motor Trend contract. I can't. I was like, your Motor Trend contract, dude? Yeah. I guess you get a Motor Trend contract if you take a bunch of pictures, but that's all I'll say about that. So
mine must be in the mail then.
This guy, I couldn't believe he big timed me like that. I was like, really, dude?
I mean, it would, but yeah. I really can't, man.
I guess if you're in the background and you take some pictures of a TV show being filmed, you have a contract with Motor Trend. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, we won't get too far into that, but that guy's an asshole. I'll say that.
How do you really feel?
He's not mad about it.
I'm not. Don't ask him that. Don't ask him that.
It's water under the bridge. Water under the bridge. Yeah, he didn't hurt my feelings at all. I love that guy. I'm gonna send him I'm gonna send him a birthday card. That's what I'm gonna do. And then run his credit.
Right.
Randomly generated card.
We've got another guest coming on the show here. Jeremy, sort of stock. I like the name. Jeremy, what's up? We got you, buddy.
Yeah.
What's up,
Jeremy?
Yeah, we got you. Tell us who you are, what you got going on.
Yeah, well, I'm Jeremy Williams. Been building A-bodies for a long time, specifically A-bodies. Never been able to touch anything else. But
I see what you got there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you can see on my camera lens though, but I've got that 69 in the back.
Yeah,
that's a Barracuda. I'm dropping the V10 into, so it's gonna be fun when it's done. I've got like 2.5 months left.
Yeah, so, Jeremy Williams, for those of you that don't know, for some of you have been listening to the podcast for a while. Irvin, you might remember, Jeremy Williams sent in the story about building a 69 CUDA with a 69 Barracuda with a Viper V10 in it. Okay. When I read that story, I was like, holy shit. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's get into it. So where's the project at now, buddy?
My kind of build right there. That's nice.
Yeah. I was trying to go for a goat, right? So I guess the V10 just sounded like it. But right now, I'm at that point where I finally cut everything that I needed to, which was way more than I was expecting. So, the whole firewall is gone, the trans tunnel, all that. All of it's gone. Even the trans cross member's gone. So I got all that cut out. I got the front suspension going in right now. I got the barricade member bolted up, so that's pretty nice. Had to bolt it in before I could cut the cross member for the trans. So right now I'm just fabricating. I'm fabricating for the next few weeks.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work.
Good luck with you.
Work. Yeah.
I've already had the engine in and out 3 times, so hoping to keep it in single digits at least.
You won't need a heater.
What was that?
The engine's gonna be so close to you through the firewall, you won't need a heater, man.
Oh, I'm already looking at how I'm gonna modify bracket to scoot the seat back because I'm 6'3", so already small enough. Yep.
I think you might have, and now I might be speaking out of line here. You might have the only Barracuda, A-body Barracuda that has a Viper engine in it when it's all said and done. I don't think I've ever heard of that swap before.
Yep.
So I thought the same thing, but I posted on the for A-bodies only forum, not like the Facebook post, the actual website. And there was somebody that had a 67 coupe that dropped in an 8.0 Viper V10 in. So I saw photos and Dodge drops exactly what I'm going for. So
wow. And is his already running and everything? It's already on the road?
Yeah, that one's done. Yeah, I think it was somewhere in Switzerland or Sweden, somewhere that
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
See, you can't be original these days. I mean,
no, you try as much as you can, but
fuck. I mean, I would have sworn that was the only one, but hey, if you're one of two on the planet Earth, that's cool.
That's not too bad, right?
No. And hey, you can pull up to any LS swap piece of shit and go, hey, that's a cute little LS you got. Oh, man.
What I'm afraid of, though, is I don't know if you've ever heard of V10, but they sound different. They're totally different in their exhaust notes. A lot of people don't like them. I was a little indifferent on them for a long time. I had a SRT10 pickup.
Okay.
And, until I found the right combo for the exhaust, right, I wasn't too fond of the sound. But with what I got in this, the cam and the headers I've got that I'm modifying, I'm hoping it'll sound pretty good. Trying to get away from the tractor sound, right? Like that's what the V10s typically sound like.
I actually don't mind the sound. I've never heard an SRT10 truck that I didn't like. Maybe I just lucked out and heard good ones or something. But every time I heard one go by me, I was like, damn, I want one of those. Did you have...
it's hard to tell what it is at times, right? Because it sounds a little bit like stepped over, so you could tell maybe it's a 6-cylinder. It doesn't have that throaty V8 sound. It's different.
It is definitely different. How did you like your truck? I know that I had SRT Jovita on the show last week, and she was talking about trying to get an SRT10, and it's one of those things that it's always kind of been on my bucket list of Mopars that I wouldn't mind owning someday. Which one did you own? Did you own the quad cab with the automatic, or did you have a single cab with the 6-speed?
I had the single cab. It was in 04.
Nice.
I sold it in September, so I don't have it anymore. Okay. Moved down to San Diego from Fresno. But yeah, the single cab had 32,000 miles on it. It's all original. But just imagine the 500 horses with no weight in the rear. Anytime there's water on the road, I was not touching the gas pedal anything more than I had to. I was babying it off of a stoplight, because if I tried to just take off normal, not even with any excessive acceleration, those back tires would break loose and I'd be sliding. So
wow.
Shit, now I want one even more
in the ring. Yeah. Oh yeah. When you drop it in the third on the freeway, though, it takes off.
Oh, I bet. Awesome. Yeah, those are fucking badass trucks, man. I've always wanted one.
Yeah.
And like I don't care who I can or can't beat off the line. Like, well, I guess no traction. Sorry. Like, oh man. Cool, man. Well, I'm sure if you had those problems in the truck, then I'm sure the Barracuda is going to be a whole different animal.
Right. Yeah. Well,
what are you doing?
I'm also pushing it back, so hopefully I can balance it out a little bit better.
What are you going to run for a rear end on that thing? A Dana 60 or something?
So I've got a 9-inch 60 in it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. No, not putting a Ford one in there.
Yeah, I was like, he might turn real bad here. Let's find out. That's cool, man.
Yeah. It was hard picking which gears to run though. So 73s is the magic number with the T56. So
that'll be cool. I'm curious to see what that thing will weigh when it's all said and done, because those Viper engines, they got to weigh 700 pounds or something like that. They're huge.
Yeah. So I've got a 96 model. It's the RT10 one, so it's the Gen 1, the last of it.
Okay.
So they got like 80 pounds extra just in the block.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So a little bit heavier, but we'll see what it is.
Yeah, I imagine. Now, I don't know about the Viper engines. Did Lamborghini have anything to do with the design in those things? I thought there was. They designed the
intake.
Yeah, they helped out the heads on the thing too.
Oh, really?
Huh. Yeah, they also helped with casting, because Mopar had the V10 truck engine, but they never casted an aluminum engine of that size, so they went to Lamborghini to help with casting.
Interesting.
But it was a Mopar design from all my research.
Cool. Yeah, badass engines, man. God,
yeah,
I would love to have a Viper someday, but I'd settle for a Viper truck. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I settle for a Viper truck.
My brother, he just bought one. Not I want to say recently, because it's been literally a year since he got it. He got it for $25,000, and I guess the previous owner cammed it, or he did something with it, and it wasn't tuned properly. It was meaning selling, but he only had it for a few weeks before the engine just gave out.
Oh,
and he just got a new engine. I want to say probably like the first week of May. He posted it on Instagram, and he just got it in. I don't know if it's a new engine, or I think he just had his original engine machine, because I'm assuming, and I'm assuming a new engine would be way more expensive than rebuilding your other one. But he was pissed, man. He went back to the previous owner, but I mean, he sold it to him, and he bought it as is. Whatever happens after he bought it, it's on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, he bought it, but it was an evil sound. There was nothing like it. You can hear him from like blocks away. It was just like, woof, 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 like just evil sounding truck, dude. It was scary, actually. All blacked out. Oh man.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the last Mopar engines I would want to blow up next to like a Gen 2 Hemi. It's like, shit, I just blew the Viper engine? Shit. Like, damn.
Viper tack.
Yeah, that was fun while it lasted. There was a comment. Gary Hart asked you, Jeremy, what you're doing about cooling, because cooling has always been an issue, especially in those first gen Vipers.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you look at the cooling lines, it took me a while to understand it. The thermostat's in the back of the block, right in the back. So that means it's got to run to and from the radiator. So it runs right on top of the exhaust manifolds directly. Oh wow! It's not a good design. I've got a really fat big aluminum radiator. It's actually sitting behind me, and so I'm gonna take those lines, get them away from the exhaust manifolds, run them underneath the fenders, or hidden, tucked away near the fenders to get it away from the manifold, and then over into the radiator. So hoping that should take care of it.
Awesome. I'm looking at that engine like, God, that'd be kind of badass in a van.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen. But
can you imagine? Imagine popping the hatch of the show and showing a V10, and that'd be pretty sweet.
Shit.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Is that a preview of what you're gonna do with your matter?
I could do whatever I want, but it's still gonna. At the end of the day, it's still gonna be a boogie van. You know what I mean? They're still gonna be like, it's just it's fast and creepy. That I mean, you know.
I'll do it though.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to do podcasts back there, didn't you?
Yeah. I want to do mobile podcast. I want to take it to events. I would like to get to go around the country and do in-person stuff. Like if I could go to Southern California, meet up with Jeremy and check out his CUDA, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff would be fun for me. I would love to do that. And if anybody from Motor Trend is listening, I will sell out in a heartbeat. Talk to your boy. We can make something happen.
That's how your YouTube channel should start off with. If you do finish that van and you go around country, you can start interviewing people and checking out the rides. You know what I mean? That's a good content for YouTube.
It's definitely, like I said earlier, with YouTube, it's just like you can fill that a niche, or you can just be completely different than everybody else. Like I would love to go to the wrecking yard. I just don't have them around here, but the guys that go to the wrecking yards and find these old Mopars and like, all right, it hasn't ran in 30 years, like Dylan McCool, and there's a bunch of guys out there, that do that kind of stuff. And those videos they're fun, you know what I mean? But there's some guys that are so established that if you even try, it's like if you're doing it for fun, by all means do it. If you're doing it to try to grow into, like, if you think you're going to be the next Uncle Tony or the next Dylan McCool, those guys, they get those loyal followings. And then when people come up doing the same kinds of things, you get the people going, oh, he's just a wannabe, knockoff. And I don't like that kind of talk, to be honest. That's not me.
I think I have a YouTube channel and I got my part stuff on there. So much more. My most popular video on my YouTube channel is I got a bunch of more stuff.
You're breaking up, dude. I'm trying to follow you. Try saying that again.
on the YouTube channel, I got a bunch of more stuff, like a bunch of reviews of my cars and my dad's stuff and everything. And there's only really one video that's done really, really well. Jerry, to guess which one that is.
It's the one where you get something started that was in a junkyard. Am I close?
It's my hero video. It's the only one that's done really well.
Shit, you keep breaking up, dude. I'm like getting bits and pieces. I will say that I really enjoyed your Fiero video. Every once in a while.
He's only breaking up when he talks, though. So.
I know, right?
I'm breaking up, don't I?
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Oh, headphones. I think it might be the headphone.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Headphones? Is it? I have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is. I don't know why Wi-Fi is a bitch on these things. I've always had good bars on my Wi-Fi, but for some reason, I always broke up when I was on Wi-Fi. So I had to hardwire in order to get a decent stream. So you may have to hardwire next time.
Am I still breaking up for you guys?
Huh? Oh, damn it.
You're totally breaking up, Anthony. Like as
Technology.
soon as you talk, it looks like everything's cool. Then you're talking, it's like
Yeah.
It kills me too because I can't.
Now we heard you. You were perfectly clear there.
Oh shit. Technology, right?
Have him move his lips and someone else speak for him.
I've been sitting here the whole time thinking I was the only one with him chop it up on because Chris would always answer him, and I'm like,
I know, same.
I take bits and pieces. I take bits and pieces of what I catch, and then my genius brain fills in the rest. Oh God.
So I got most of it. Like it was his best video was, and then now he's gone completely.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Let me see if I can find it.
Anthony, if you can hear me, I'm going to remove you. Rejoin the link. All right, we'll try that. Yeah, technology. I can send a message to somebody in Australia and they'll get it like that. But you try to be on a screen and everything goes to hell. I don't know. But that's kind of
I'm on my phone too. I'm tripping out.
That's what separates shows like this from other shows because this is an open forum. I want people to come on that I've never talked to tell me about their projects and stuff and share with everybody. I like that. I don't like the idea of these guys that have these shows that don't open the forum up to their followers aside from just the chat. I don't like that. That's why, I'll get a good 45 minutes in and then I'll post the link in the chat and then hopefully people will join us. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it just doesn't work out, but that's the way the cookie crumbles and I enjoy it no matter what. So we'll work through it. If I can catch a little bit of what a guy's saying, we'll figure it out. And hopefully the people that are listening to the podcast next week aren't like, holy shit, how are we going to do this? I know I've listened to my own podcast like the next day and been like, fuck, is there something wrong with my, like looking at my headphones like, oh no, it's just the connection.
What do you touched on Jeremy's car about getting off the line in that SRT10 pickup? What do you think about Dave Dudek running a 963 and on bias plies in the 71 Hemi Cuda?
Really? What is that?
Yeah.
Is he racing in the
fast factory appearance stock tire?
Yeah.
Yep.
I really want to have somebody on the show that participates in that. I know a couple guys, but it's always like every time I try to get them on, they're like, "Oh, it's racing season." I'm like, "Shit!" And then by the time off season, they're doing other
going on right now.
Really, those cars.
Yeah,
I think I've talked about it on the podcast. I love that racing. I love that more than the big corporate sponsored racing. I think it's way cool. Bias ply tires running 10 seconds or 9 seconds. I mean, what's the fat?
He ran.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy.
Right now, that is the fastest, but not during an event. During an event, I believe the fastest was a 9.7 and some change. I'm not 100% sure.
Let's just think about that for a second, because I know that there's certain rules. Like you can have a cage. I think they let you have a cage, but it has to be like really hidden as best you can. And
minimalist. I think it has to be. I think there's a cage only because they're running so fast now. It used to be. Yeah. It wasn't a requirement. I don't believe.
Yeah, eventually the tracks are like, them bias plies, and you're running that fast. God, I want to see one of those races in person, but I've looked locally, and the Northwest apparently sucks because they don't come out here.
They seem to always be peppered around the Midwest to the East Coast. I've never got one close enough that I could go see it in person. But as far as rules go, I know as far as I can, from researching. Obviously, the car has to be factory appearing and run on a stock size tire that was offered that model year for whatever they're running. But the engine internals can be anything But then it has to run through stock manifolds, and they're like cooking the manifolds as far as dumping acid down them to thin them out. And they're cutting intakes apart and hogging them out and having guys weld them back together to make them look stock. Stuff like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah. That's where you get into the real creative shit. You know what I mean? Anybody can go out and buy these giant, Hemis and shit, these big cubic inch motors. But when those factory appearing stock tire cars are just insane.
I think they said that Hemi in that CUDA dynoed almost 1,000 horsepower.
Jesus.
Good God.
Wow. I would love to know more specs on that. I think those guys kind of keep a lot of things close to the chest, though, right?
I do believe so as well.
Yeah.
He's one of the big dogs. Like everybody wants to get take down every race.
God, at least it's a Mopar, though. It really pissed somebody off. It was like, this 69 Copo Camaro with the 427, whatever they got. I'm just spitballing here, but
exactly what it was. Good job.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
72, 427. Yeah, 425 bucks.
There's people in the chat like, we knew he was a fucking Chevy guy. I knew it. Fucking knew it. A lot of people don't know this, but my dad actually does have a mullet Camaro. He's got an 88 Camaro IROC Z, because for a small period of time, he shifted away from Mopars, and someday that will be mine to sell. Because that's exactly what I'm going to do with it.
I'm mentioning that in the podcast.
Yeah, good old Camaro IROC Z. I'll probably drive it around for a little bit, listen to some Van Halen and shit, but not that I don't like Van Halen. But, yeah, it's got T-tops.
So,
there you go.
Yeah, I went to a cruise on Wednesday night. I went to a cruise on Wednesday night at a local custom shop. There was like a legit rolling meme come into the show. It was a kid in a 97 to 2002 Camaro. T-tops were off. He legit had a mullet, wearing a Dale Earnhardt t-shirt and the Pit Viper glasses. And I'm like, this kid, I couldn't get my phone out to take a picture in time. I was like, this is like a meme waiting to happen. You can't make it up.
Yeah.
But
that was me, bud. That was me, bud. I rolled in whiteface. I had my face painted white with Pit Vipers on. Yeah, that's Anthony's back. All right, Anthony, we'll add you to the stream, buddy. This is your last shot. No, I'm kidding.
Is that better? I don't know.
It is a little better so far. We chopped a little bit.
A little bit. Roll it over here. Perfect. Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
Okay, you're good now. Tell us what video got the most views,
please.
The Fiero actually.
Did it?
Gotten the most views. Yeah.
See, it's that niche stuff, man.
It's about 13,000 videos. 13,000 views. And
shit, there he goes. Damn it.
I'm back.
I think he said 13,000 views.
We got you. Okay, go.
So anyway, boy,
shit.
Switch out again into the Matrix.
Oh God.
That's okay.
All right. Well,
he got it out. He got it out. He got
a million views. He said 1 million views on a Fiero video.
That's insane. So why is it? Is it because you're like the only one that has a video on a Fiero, or is it because how you did the walk around on the car? Or what do you think? What do you think set it out?
It has a Hellcat engine.
It seems to be the fact that I didn't cap on the fact that the cars were considered burned down. Like that, the defect in the early ones and all that. I actually enjoy the car, and there's not a whole lot of videos about that.
Yeah, I know that when I saw, because I went to your channel and I saw that video. Of course, I went to it because I have this weird little thing with Fiero. I test drove a Fiero one time, and it was the squirreliest little fucking thing I've ever driven. I was like, this is weird. I didn't buy it, but it was definitely a weird driving car. I wish it had something cooler for an engine, because I mean, you could get. I know a little bit about Chevys. I know you can get the 2.8 and Chevy Corsicas and like the Berettas and things like that. So it's like, oh, if they had did something just a little bit better. But I know people in the way back in the day, they were swapping, and I don't know if they still do it, but Cadillac North Star engines in those things. And they were pretty crazy little cars. And if you think back to the 80s, you know, especially I like the later ones, like what you have with the rounder ass end. I like those better than the ones that are just straight cut. I can't believe I'm talking about Fieros on the Talking Mopars. Cool video.
Don't forget, we talked mopeds once too.
We did talk mopeds. I'm trying to redeem myself talking of Fieros. And yes, we did talk a little White Castle too.
I had to double check my phone.
So the weird thing I'm going to start doing is I'm going to put a poly head in my CUDA. That's the thing I'm setting up for.
Really? A 318 poly?
Yeah, I'm going to set up to a 4-way.
Cool. I looked at... Really? I went and looked at it was at a trailer park. It was a 67 Barracuda with a 318 in it. And I remember the guy was like, I'm not home, but the car's unlocked. He goes, go ahead and take a look at it. So I go and I popped the hood. And at the time, this was several years ago, I didn't really know much about the Poly 318s. And I popped the hood. And I never took into account how unique the valve covers are. And when I popped the hood, I was like, a fucking lying sack of shit said he had a 318 in here. And I was looking at it. And that's how little I knew about the engines. And I was like, and it looked big. I was like, this isn't I was like, what am I looking at here? And then I looked at the ad again, and I believe it did say Poly somewhere in the ad. And I was like, I had to ask the guy. And he goes, oh, it's a Poly 318. And then, of course, I Googled it. Like, oh, okay. So I don't know shit. Neat. So I learned a little bit about him. And it was interesting that he chose the Poly 318 to put in it. But it was definitely unique. You know, shit, you're more likely to see an LS swapped Mopar than I think somebody who swapped in a Poly 318. But interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to try to be different.
Are you gonna build it up? Because I know there's some specialists out there that can squeeze some power out of it. We've talked about it on this podcast before.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my power as I can. I think what I can do that.
Okay. You broke up again, dude. But
I figured.
Yeah, it's all good. We caught some bits and pieces. Fiero this, 318 Poly that, you know. We got the important stuff.
So basically, I'm putting
and he's gone. And he's gone.
Well, I wonder what it would take to put a 318 to the factory Pontiac transaxle, you know, besides an adapter. But what would be involved in engineering that, I suppose?
Well, you mean like fitment issues?
Yeah.
In the Fiero?
Oh man, I don't know if you've ever looked in the hatch of those Fieros. I don't know what would you call that? Not the hood, the bonnet. I don't know what you call it. A rear engine.
Yeah, mid-engine or whatever it is. Yeah,
mid-engine. That's weird. The lid. You call it the lid or something? I don't know. Weird.
Jeremy could probably do it. He could probably get it done.
Get an angle grinder out there and start cutting it.
Yep. Yeah.
I did want to ask you, Jeremy, when I see stuff like this, I always, when I see swaps like yours, I always sit back and I go, how much experience in fabrication did this guy have before he took on this project? Or was it something that you just went right in, you said, fuck it, I'll figure it out, or what?
So it's probably 70%. Fuck it, I'll figure it out. 30%, I've done some stuff before. And this is my fourth car that I've built.
Okay.
So it was a 68 fastback Barracuda with a small block choker. Had a great time with it. And then I did a 75 Dart Swinger before he stroked out. Loved it as well. But never moved a firewall. Never fabricated my own inner fenders. I mean, I took your typical metal and auto shop in high school. And then where I went to college, I did a lot of engineering and whatnot. So I'm mechanical based. But
there it is. Mechanical engineer, folks. There you go.
Well, not as a major, as a side.
Okay. Well,
when you're on ships, you're going to have to learn one way or the other.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, MIG, stick, TIG, I can weld that
nice.
Degree. I haven't taken a long time. So basically MIG and stick for a year.
Awesome. Because you'll get a jerk like me who's got all these big dreams. Like, I'll just buy the stuff and let it sit in my garage and look at it and talk about how cool it will be. And then you got guys like Jeremy, who's like, I'm gonna buy all the shit and I'm gonna do it because I have a minor in mechanical engineering. You know what I mean?
Well, I waited 6 years to actually start working on it. Right, I mean, I sat there and stared at it for a long time.
Sure.
And then I had the engine for about a year before I really started digging into it.
How much planning and like measuring and like really sitting down and trying to think out the project did you do before you really started hacking away?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I've really built the car on paper. Probably, I couldn't tell you how many times. Maybe 100 times. Every time I'd be on watch, right, and I'd be bored, I'd have an extra 30 minutes. I just sit there and start building it out. Took a while to figure out what to do with that cooling passage, like I was talking about, putting it under the fenders. But before actually cutting, like the actual measurements sitting inside the engine bay, a couple of weeks.
Okay. Did you?
My theory is like I've got to do something, right? I got to do something. I got to cut something out. Any kind of progress is progress. So.
What also is interesting to me is that you can't really, I mean, where are you going to go online to really find another person? I mean, there's the one guy in Sweden or whatever, but it's like, where do you go to find that information? Yeah. Like, where do you go to find that information? I imagine that you had to learn more about the engine itself than anything else, right?
Well, with what I'm doing with it, because it's never even been opened up. It's got 0 miles on it. It was just one of the ones that was stuck away in the corner. Never even had fluid in it. So, but I'm swapping the cam, the head gaskets, the work. So I'm going to take it down to a short block. And then I could send the heads out to get them worked. But I don't know if you ever looked at pricing of Viper stuff. But, man, just to get your heads ported, it's like $5,000. I'm gonna put that money elsewhere. I'm gonna see if I can't pocket it myself.
I had a wild hair once. And I saw an RT10 for like $27,000, and I was like, "Ooh, I might be able to afford that." And I looked at, of course, I looked at some parts, and I saw an exhaust system that was like almost $2,000, and I was like, "Okay, that was a fun little pipe dream for a minute."
Yeah, the headers. The only headers they make for them start at like $1,800 right now. God. And of course, they're all the weird designs, stick straight out. You know, side pipes. So, yeah, this is difficult, but making it happen.
So you get, if I remember right, this car had a lot of sentimental value to you, right?
Yeah, this was my great grandmother's. In fact, still gets both my father and my grandfather teary-eyed when we start talking about it. So because my grandfather's really excited for Hot August Nights.
Yeah, didn't he sell it and then you ended up finding it years later?
Yeah, he sold it, and so. After I made the YouTube video too, my father called me and was like, "You got some times wrong." Like, what are you talking about? He's like, "I didn't have it for that long. I had it for a year. I made a mistake that early." But he sold it in '89 and it was gone. I bought it back in 2014. The same owner that my father had sold it to had it the entire time. Took it to Alaska for like 12 or 14 years or something, and then brought it back. And then it was only like 3 blocks away from where my grandmother was living. My grandfather was living.
I remember reading your story. I remember reading your story for the first time, and I was like, "Holy shit, that is a crazy story!" And I think I said it on the podcast when I read the story. I was like, "I love hearing stories like that because it's like, you know, the ones that get away, sometimes they come back. You know what I mean? That's
sometimes.
Yeah, so cool. So your plans? Is it going to be strictly a show car? Are you ever going to test it out at the track? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I mean, I used to always say that I was a big drag racer, but in all honesty, the last time I've been at the track was 2016. I was just gone all the time. But no, I'm definitely gonna drive this. I mean, I don't see the point in building the cars to let them just sit there.
Sure.
So I plan to try to at least clock in 3,000 to 5,000 miles a year with it. You know, V10s I guess are pretty reliable for mileage concern. It's just typically people don't take those Vipers out. So I'm gonna plan it to where I can have it be safe enough for me to drive cross country and, you know, not be too concerned about driving it 3 hours to a show.
It's probably going to be pretty cool to hand the keys to grandpa, right?
Yeah, he still drives a stick. So, I mean, I'm a little nervous about that. There's this empty parking lot. There's only one tree in it. Please don't look at that.
Oh, man. Oh gosh, what a cool story, man. I can't wait to see that thing. I remember that was one of the cars where I was like, okay, this is insane. I was like, I loved hearing about it. I can't wait to see. I'm glad we actually got you on the show and we talked a little bit more about it because I remember the story and it just stood out so much because of the uniqueness of the story and getting the car back and what you're doing with it, and I love all the Mopar stories I get, but some just stand out just because I'm like, okay, he's crazy. I got to know more about this. And I had planned to have you on the show because I wanted to talk about it. So it all worked out in the end. And that's another reason why I like these direct connection shows. It's just fun. Because then now I've got a bunch of people to give their inputs. Who here thinks that Jeremy's crazy and he should have just did a 318? Nobody.
What's funny is the 400 or the block you see in the back was 400 big block I was going to put in it. When I saw that V10, it just sparked it. That was it. I had to do it.
Yeah. Well, now that 400 needs a home. What are you going to do with that?
So, you mentioned a few times about Johnny Mopar pitching those $500 cars, $100 cars.
Yeah.
Hey, the free one is right here. This is the free one.
That's the free one? Oh, geez. The trophy. But I think I've got a 2020 version of that, right, with more up-to-date pricing, but still killer deals. Where I work, I've got a junkyard right up next to the plant now. And one day this truck pulled in. It had a 65 Volkswagen bus in the front, and then it had a 68 Dodge Dart GT convertible, original 318 V8. And so I was able to go over and talk to the manager of that yard, and found out that the owner lived in Tijuana, was selling a shop, and so this car was being sold. So it was for sale. Well, I ended up picking it up for $2,100.
Holy shit!
Original, had a brand new rebuilt transmission. The guy who owned the shop had a customer that brought the car in. The tranny was blown to be rebuilt, so he rebuilt it, got it back up and running, and the guy couldn't pay. So it sat in the back of his shop for 8 years. So I've got that sitting outside right now under a cover. I think I'm about 400 inside of that. I've got a trans sitting right underneath my feet that I rebuilt a couple of years ago. A big block 727. So
nice.
It'll fit perfectly in there. But that'll be after the Barracuda. Every time I got it, I got to put it in there.
Yeah, that's a cool car. That's a cool car too, man. Gosh, another big block convertible. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Sweet.
I did happen to glance over at the chat here. For those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while, I have a friend over in Australia that completely just hammered me one time. His name's Dodgy Ross. Dodgy Ross is in the building. I'm still recovering from the beating you gave me, dude. My feelings are still hurt, but we'll get over it. Let's actually. One thing about these chats is I see everybody on here, and I'm trying to engage with the people on screen, and I see the chat going, and I'm okay, I got to get to that at some point. We're an hour and 55 minutes in, so let's just run through this chat really quick because it's not too long, but I know there were some decent questions. So. Hopefully this doesn't. Okay, there we go. What's up, Chris? Anthony, yep, you made it on there, buddy. Glad to have you on. Hopefully we can get you a good connection because I know you got some good stuff to talk about. SRT Jovita. Jovita is an amazing person. I was talking to her a little bit after the show, and one thing we were talking about, is just that there's two types that I've noticed, and I mentioned this to her. There's two types of women that are into Mopars, and it's the girls that are really in it for the cars, and then there's the other girls that they use their looks to push them along. And one thing I respected about Jovita compared to some of the girls that I've seen out there, and I really don't talk to them personally, all of the girls that I communicate with on any social media channels that are involved in Mopars are really awesome women, and they're true Mopar enthusiasts. And she's one of them. And it's nice to know that there are women out there that, don't have to exploit themselves to get huge followings. I mean, she's the president of the Canadian Mopar Club with 2,000 members. That's pretty crazy. And I was expecting, when I asked Jovita, who she has to help her, she's like, oh, she does it all by herself. I thought that was insane. But she's definitely one of the best Mopar girls out there. And the first of many. I have a list of women that I know in Mopars that I think will be great to have on the show. So hopefully we can get them on the show. Marcos, what's up, buddy? You're here with us. Anthony says the Shark Tooth Grill is one of the best Mopar grills ever. Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Chris I believe he was asking me. It's a factory Mopar ignition, all factory parts from what I can tell, including the ignition box. Jesse, I'm going to try to. All I really care about on the Mecum auctions is that CUDA. I know there's a lot of other Mopars, but the one that really stands out, I got to know what that CUDA hammer's for. I don't know what day it's going to go across the block, but I imagine it's going to be the last day. I would think. I could be wrong though. Who knows?
I guess it'll be Saturday.
Really? Is it going till next Saturday? It is, right?
Well, right now they're doing Houston, I believe. I was watching earlier today, and then next week's Indy.
Okay, so it'll be next week that they do it. Nice shirt, Johnny.
Thank you. My sweater. It's getting cold in here in the shop. I'm not used to this.
Gary, the brain box will throw a spark at the start of cranking and another as you let the key off. You know that what I noticed when I was checking was there was one interesting time when I cranked it and it didn't spark, and then all of a sudden before I let off the key, it fired, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." So it's just a weird issue that I'm having. So the easiest way for me to do it is to throw a new box in it, see what happens then. Hopefully that corrects it. Then I'm going to throw a distributor at it, and then we'll go from there. I got a new voltage regulator coming. I kind of wanted just to update everything since I already put a new ammeter wire in it and took care of all the fried wiring. So I might as well just replace or at least have extras for the things that I know are going to eventually go out.
Yeah. Hey, so a quick easy test is just take a wire with some alligator clips.
Mm-hmm.
Just run 12 volts to your coil.
Jump the coil. Yeah.
Yeah. And if the thing fires up really easy, then maybe it's your switch. You know?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you said that because Paul from the 10 Girl page was telling me to do that. And I actually bought some alligator clips. To be honest, I've been trying to get it running this week, but another week where I put in almost 60 friggin' hours at work. I got in here just in time. Matt was waiting for me in the chat, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Matt, are you going to introduce me today or what?"
It's not for smoking weed, okay? Little alligator clips.
Yeah, we call those roach clips, Johnny. Not that I would know, because I'm randomly drug tested at work, so I don't smoke marijuana, although it is legal in Washington State. And what's funny about that? Here, we'll go off on another little tangent.
Might as well.
I'm a garbage man, and I work in the city of. I probably shouldn't say. So I work in one of the cities in Washington that is very tech heavy. It's close to Microsoft and Google, and it'll be 7:00 in the morning, and I'm in really nice neighborhoods. And I will smell the heaviest stench of weed. And I'm like, it must be nice to just be rich as hell, open your Dutch doors that overlook Lake Washington, and just smoke a fat doobie. And just be like, I got it made. That just, I wouldn't call it jealous. I'm not jealous that they get to do that. I'm envious that they have that don't give a shit like that attitude. Like, I'm just gonna smoke a doobie and then go play on my computer today. Yeah, that's crazy. And Johnny Mopar, so popular, Johnny. Joan, you seem like a nice lady. I don't know what so I had a couple blank comments last week and I didn't figure out until later, but some people were sending stars, and I really don't know how the whole stars thing work. But a couple people sent stars, so I appreciate that. So Joan, if you sent me stars, I can't see in the chat whether you did or not. But if you did, thank you very much. Anthony. Roy Wheeler, hello from Kansas. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Anthony said Mopar parts equals money. Yep. Ask Jeremy about that.
Yeah.
Vans are okay, but the Hang 10 and Duster Custom with the A63 package is hippie central. What is the A63 package? Is that is he talking about the Hang 10? Is that what that is? I'm trying to think of what the A63 package is. I'll have to get Vans are okay with the Hang 10. I'll have to look that up. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Yeah, there you go. Bud Bud's always pulling the information out. I like that. Keep doing that, Bud.
He's like your secretary.
And Marcos is on the show with us right now.
Well, my codes don't go to 75 or whenever it was for the Hang 10. It's A63 70 only Challenger molding group. So it's obviously not the Hang 10 thing because that was too late for what I have for information at hand.
Interesting. Yeah, John.
Yeah, Johnny, that Coronet was sweet, man. I know you went in one of your videos. You were talking about how you called it a unicorn, and I guess somebody was like, telling you they made a ton of them. But shit, how many do you see today?
Yeah, let's talk about that because that was so when I said it was a unicorn, I mean I didn't mean. I could see how people would take it as that's a rare car. I'm saying it's a rare car. And I didn't really mean it that way. I meant it like in today's context. It's so hard to find. You never see them. Like John was saying, I mean, he's owned that car and he said he's only seen 4 in his lifetime. And I could tell you I've only seen 3 in my lifetime. 70s. The 70s just seem like you never see them. But I think wagons in general, because, and I've said this somewhere, I think it was on the comments of that video, but it's like wagons were never coveted like, Cudas and Challengers and Chargers and Roadrunners and stuff. They were just regular cars, just like a 4-door sedan that, your family drove around in. And so when they got kind of used up after, what's a typical car get used up at about 10 years or so, it's just going to go to the boneyard and stuff. I mean, I've seen them in junk. I've seen 68s and 9s in junkyards, like way back in the 90s and stuff. But on the road, like I think I've seen a Chevy Impala wagon running around here at one point in time, and I haven't seen it since. And then the local Mopar shows out here in Riverside. I think there's a Plymouth wagon that shows up pretty frequently. And aside from that, that's it. And then John's wagon, the one I got now, I mean, but yeah, you never see them.
No, not 70s. Not 70s. I've seen 5 times as many 69s and 5 times as many 68s over 70s. So I understand completely why you called it a unicorn.
Yeah.
But because I totally trash people that call barn find cars that aren't barn find cars liars. I'm going to say, Johnny, it's not a unicorn, dude. Get your terminology right. Okay. It's a hard to come by wagon. Okay, buddy. Yeah. I do love it. And, the only thing I am not the biggest fan of the 70 Coronets for, and it's not the front end. For some reason, the back just doesn't do it for me like the 69s. I just don't. There's just something on the back that I think is just, there's something, I don't know. The design to me.
A 2-door, like the finish panel on a 2-door?
Yeah. There's something about it. I mean, they're nice. Don't get me wrong. But if you lined up a 69 and a 70, I'm taking the 69 every time. Now, the front end, to me, it's kind of like the fuselage B bodies. And they're growing on me a lot because I've always liked them, but I never really was like, God, I really want one of those. But the more I see
them or hate them, you know, it's one of
I never hated them.
I love them too.
I never hated them, but it was like if I had to choose a different something else, like if I found one for a good deal for sale, I'm probably the guy that would go, I'll wait until a 69 comes around. But if I find the right 70 now, I'd probably take it in a heartbeat just because there's something about that front end that's just, I don't know. Mopar, that thing stands out. You're never going to confuse that for a Nova. Poor Matt over there. Poor Matt.
Well, at least Johnny didn't attack me at random this time. Sitting here minding my own business. He takes shots at A-bodies.
Not today.
Marcos, how many times have people called your Duster a Nova? Have you ever had that?
Well, it's always been in the garage, so not too many people see it. So far 0. But once I start driving around, well, I'm sure that'll go up.
I used to say that about my Mopars all the time. Nobody ever talks shit about my stuff because it's in the garage. It never goes out.
You were talking about misidentity, those Broncos versus Trail Duster and Ram Chargers. I got a 78 Trail Duster, and every single time I take it out, nice Bronco. Oh, man. Okay, thanks.
Man, I love those Trail Dusters.
Every single time.
Yeah. You even have the Trail Duster, which is even.
even more
That's
rare.
rad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's cool. Does it have a
real quick?
Go ahead.
A63 is a hang 10 package on the Dart in 74 and 5. Yes.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so I was right.
But my numbers, I had to look it up because the stuff I have on hand.
It was a good guess.
So.
It was a good guess because there was a short period of time before I started the podcast where I printed out lists of fender tag codes because I was like, if I'm going to be in this game, I got to be. And I'm telling you, the stack was like that. And I was like, okay, I got to be strategic about this. I'm going to study page by page. And, I had it, but it's like my brain filters out like, okay, you don't need to know this shit right now. So just filter that stuff right out. I still have the pages somewhere. I was trying to figure out how I could implement like some sort of educational thing as I learn about them, how I could share that with the podcast and try to figure out how I could turn it into content. And everything I thought of, I was like, that's going to be boring as shit. I was like, I'll leave it to some YouTube guy to go on YouTube and have a chalkboard and shit. Like, okay, this is, that is not what I was
going to do. I was going to do like battle of the options. And that's where you take a Mopar option code versus a GM option code and see which one someone would rather have. Okay. And the problem is a lot of them don't line up well enough. But N96 obviously is what on a Mopar. That's your Ram Charger or your air grabber. And then N96 on a 69 Camaro is wheel covers. So which would you rather have? It's the Mag style wheel covers. But
wow.
That might be an interesting episode. Yeah,
that is kind of interesting. It's funny. I was looking at my Instagram, weeks ago now, and I was like, I was losing traction on it, and just because I kind of been slacking off with some of the stuff I've been doing on social media, just because I got to be honest, I got lazy again. That's why I have a stack of Mopar stories again. So I got to get caught up on that. But I totally just lost my train of thought there. I don't even know where I was going. So we'll continue and move on.
I did a video on the Twister, and I think it went over pretty well. I mean, I'm not really big on the numbers thing. I'm not very educated or schooled on it. But I did go through that car, and it was pretty interesting. And then there's always these experts that are, they live and breathe this stuff. They know it so much better than you do. Like I totally glassed over the fact that the car had a gull wing on it, and somebody pointed out, hey, that's not even, and the hood pins too, that's not in the fender tag. So somebody added that shit to that car at some point because the code, there's no codes for it. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't really think about it, But
interesting.
I think it's kind of cool if you focus around a car, or if you focus around a particular code, like say the N96, you just talk about that and do a whole episode around it. I think it'll keep people engaged and interesting. You start just throwing a bunch of numbers out there, it's going to be like
that is a really visual thing too, I think. So like in your situation, Johnny, it's great video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Breaking down the fender tags and stuff. I remember where I was going with what I was just saying. It was I was losing traction on my Instagram, and I was like, how can I engage people on Instagram? Instagram is not my forte. And I was like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just pit Mopars against Mopar. Because at first, somebody mentioned this. Why are you doing the Mopar versus Mopar thing? Is it do like Mopar versus somebody else? And I was like, because that's not controversial enough, dude. I want to get people going, shit, that's a hard one. Because everybody, nobody is going to agree on one thing all the time. That's one thing that I knew was going to happen, and I love watching it. And I to be honest, I had the Conquest, the Chrysler Conquest, and the Dodge Stealth one. I had that in my back pocket. I was like, I'm going to wait and drop this on them, just piss them off. But surprisingly, there wasn't too much shit talking, except for a couple guys that were like really high on the 4G63 Mitsubishi engines, which I understand why they are, but to me, can't beat American V8 sound. You know what I mean?
Well, who won?
I would say the Conquest. It was definitely a good battle. It was a good battle.
You mean the twin turbo all-wheel drive didn't take it? I was on the Dodge side.
I drove a 3000 GT VR4 twin turbo once, and I don't think I've ever told this story. I went to this car dealership with my friend, and I used to have this hobby. I learned it from my dad, where you go bullshit a car salesman and just take something for a spin. So this is going to sound really shitty of me, but I'm going to tell it for entertainment value. So I go to this car dealership, and my friend and I are actually driving down Highway 99 in Washington. And for anybody that's in Washington knows that Highway 99 is where you go, and they got car dealerships on both sides and whatnot. So we're driving, and I see a Mitsubishi Eclipse and a 3000 GT VR4 twin turbo. So I'm like, oh, dude, we're going to go test drive this car. So I pull in and I get out, and I was like, just keep your mouth shut and let me do the talking. So salesman comes up, and I'm like, I tell my buddy as we're going, and I was like, watch what I do. Watch the con, right? I walk up to the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Okay. Now these cars are right on the road, right next to each other, staggered. And I walk up to the Eclipse, and I'm looking at the Eclipse, right? I don't give a shit about the Eclipse. Salesman comes up, and he's like, goes, hey guys, how can I help you today? And he said something of like, how can I help you? What are you looking for? Do you like the Eclipse? And what I told him was, man, I'm just looking for something fast. And this is where I'm going to sound like a shitty person. I was like, I'm looking for something fast. My grandpa just died, and he left me $40,000 cash. And the salesman, I could see the little twinkle in his little scumbag eye. And I say scumbag eye, and I'm the scumbag in this situation, okay? But both my grandpas were already dead, so, you know, it is what it is. So he goes, oh, if you want something fast, then you want the 3000 GT VR4 twin turbo. And I was like, oh, is that one faster? He's like, let me go get the keys. And I looked at my buddy, and I was like, mm-hmm. And at this time, I was probably 17. I was a dipshit punk ass. And the guy gets the keys, doesn't even take my license or my insurance information. All he had to hear was grandpa died, $40,000 cash. And he thought he had an easy win. He's like, he's looking at he goes into his sales manager, probably, he's like, the dipshit was looking at the Eclipse. I'm getting him in the 3000 GT. Comes out, hops in the back. And from the where it was parked on the side of the road, I got in it, started it, and I shot across the 4 lanes of traffic. And I was doing about 90. Like I said, I was a punk ass kid. First time I'd ever driven anything with a twin turbo in it, so I just hammered it because all-wheel drive, you know, it hooks pretty good. And I could see the salesman in the rearview mirror, the look on that poor bastard's face. I felt so bad because I think he knew immediately, fuck, this kid's not buying this car. So we went for the test drive. We pull in. This is where it gets funny. Because keep in mind, I ain't buying this car. There ain't no $40,000. Okay. Right. We pull in. I don't even park it where it was. I park it like in the front. Like, you know how sometimes if you're test driving a car, the salesmen are tricky, and they'll be like, oh, go ahead and pull right up here, not in the parking spot where it was. They want you to pull it right in front of the dealership, like right where they take the picture of you that just bought the car and stuff. You know, they want to get you ready. So I pull it up right there, and I go, all right, well, thanks, man. Thanks for your time. I think I'm going to keep looking. And the look on his face, he knew it. He was like, fuck. Like he took the gamble, and he said, okay, either this kid has the 40,000 or he doesn't, but I think he's got the 40,000. And unfortunately that day he was wrong. I did only get it to 90 miles an hour, but it was on a highway, and it was pretty fun. I did not like the transmission in it. There's something about it just wasn't, it felt really clunky. The box did. I just did not like it. And
it was an automatic transmission?
What's that?
Was it an automatic transmission?
No, it was a 5-speed. There was just something about, I just didn't like the way it shifted. It just wasn't, it didn't feel smooth. It felt clunky. And the car, to be honest, I've driven Toyota Supras, and that seemed way more refined than that Mitsubishi 3000 GT.
Was it like the clutch? Like, did it feel heavy or like aggressive?
It wasn't the clutch. It wasn't the clutch at all. All it was the shifter. It just wasn't really smooth. I mean, I get in a new Scat Pack Challenger, and I run through the gears, and I'm like, this feels way smoother than that old piece of shit. You know what I mean? It just, it feels way better. And I don't know if those cars had issues with the transmissions or not, but it just didn't. Even driving it, I was just like, God, this thing feels just. It feels like a Mitsubishi. That's the best thing I can say. And I imagine that the Dodge Stealth drove the same way. But was it a fun car and was it fast? I mean, it was fast for what it was. For a 17-year-old punk, it was fast. I'll say that. But that's I'm
sorry. I want to say earlier that before I became a big Mopar guy, I was a DSM guy. Okay. And I'm sure I've showed you my page. I have a Instagram called DSM Revolution. Yeah. I'm at 11,000 followers. But I haven't been in that page. Well, I haven't been active on that page since I don't own a DSM. It's been actually a couple years since. I want to say a couple years. Maybe the last time I owned a DSM was 2015. So I'm very familiar with DSM. That's what got me into turbo, force induction and stuff like that. Yeah. The whole background of it, and then how you mentioned, like, you want to see a 5.7 or a Hemi twin turbo and stuff like that. I feel the same way now after being, close to the boosted scene, with turbochargers and stuff like that. How would a V8 Hemi, respond to twin turbos? It's you can only imagine the power gains. And I've seen some. There's companies that actually make turbo kits that are like almost just direct bolt on for the modern Hemis. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but they're the manifolds and the turbos are actually underneath the car, and on top
STS. STS kit.
Starts with the H.
I'm trying to think.
I want to say Helios or no, or I don't know. I don't know, but it's total sleeper status. You open the hood, you look on top, you don't see nothing. It looks like regular long tube headers or shorty headers, but if you look underneath the car, you see the two turbos and the downpipes and the wastegates as well, running down underneath the Chargers, Challengers, Durangos, and stuff like that.
I've seen them, but I can't think of the name either. When I was looking at, I think WK1s, when I was looking at the first generation SRT8 Grand Cherokees, I was looking at Stage 6 because they had a couple thousand all-wheel horsepower turbocharged SRT8s, and I was like, holy shit. And one of them, I don't know how true this is, but if I remember right, one of them had like over 200,000 miles on a stock bottom end and over 1,000 all-wheel horsepower. I see. Wow. Matt Big Block took off, but I think I saw him passing out. I want to call him on that because it looked like he closed his eye. I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, if he falls asleep, I'm going to call. There he is.
I'm still here listening.
Okay.
His face was on the keyboard.
I was like, "What is he?" If he passes out and starts snoring, I'm going to laugh so hard. This is going to be a highlight of the show, and I will post it everywhere.
You don't know what I go through to be able to be on this for you, with you guys.
I'm looking at the time. What is it? 1 o'clock over there? 1:30.
It's about 1 o'clock, and I've been up since 5 yesterday.
What a soldier! He is a soldier, folks. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Matt. Before you go, because I can tell you're like on the wings.
It's getting close. I had to stretch for a second.
Yeah, no, I hear you, dude. I won't feel bad if you need to take off, but I do want to ask you before you go, if you are going to go, where are you at on the Duster? How much work do you have ahead of you before we get that thing to Moparty?
Well, you were asking earlier about how much of it was know-how and how much of it was just go.
Yeah.
Bought a grinder and attacked quarter panels and floors with no know-how.
Yeah.
But luckily the lines were straight, and we just got to get sheet metal on the car, body work, install the Hemi and everything. I have all my front end stuff. I'm hoping to be able to splurge just a hair more on myself and get the 4-link rear end for it.
Nice.
From QA1. I mean, I'm thinking we're going to make Moparty. I'm very confident for Moparty, but at the same time, I've told I'm way too much of a dreamer.
Is it the work? Is it the work involved? It's just like a lot of work left to do, or what?
There's a lot of work left to do, but at the same time, it's work that I don't know how to do, so I have to wait on other people to come help do that work.
Sure. No, I get it. I get it 100%. One of my buddies, Paul, I know him just based on talking online and stuff, and he's a hell of a welder. And he just got a job here locally, and he used to live across the state. And when I found out he was coming over here, I was like, hey, buddy, what can we do? I need to learn how to weld, and I need somebody, because I haven't welded since high school. You know what I mean? And every time I think about it, I'm like, God, I wouldn't trust anything that I welded structurally, without having some practice first. So he told me he was going to come over and help me out and get my feet under me. So I'm interested in doing that, because I get it, man. There's a lot of stuff. When I was looking at my dart, I was like, gosh, even the minimal welding that I needed to do, I was like, I'm being a pussy right now because I don't want to hack it. But looking back, I probably should have, especially since I sold the car. If I would have hacked it, I would have fucking hacked it and would have been gone anyway. So at least I would have gotten some, some practice in. But I have been thinking, now that I have this nibbler, I want to go and snag a bunch of sheet metal from Pick and Pull and get myself a welder and just play around and see what I can do. Just for fun. I mean, you're not going to learn by sitting there not doing shit, so I might as well try. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
no, I'm pretty confident we're going to make Mo Party. I mean, the car might be in primer, but we're going to make Mo Party.
Fuck it. Primer for the win. Send it.
Yeah.
You should get
it for your computer. Using the stock ECU.
Oh, Holly Terminator.
Using the Holly kit. Okay, nice.
Using the Holly kit. Our buddy Blake, I didn't know about Blake when I bought the Holly Terminator. I wish I would have known about him instead. But no, I'm running the Holly Terminator for it, and then I'm just running a built 904 behind it. Nothing too crazy. It's just an 08 Hemi, 0857 with a pretty healthy cam, and then just a few extra little upgrades, but nothing crazy. It's going to be a daily, so I want to keep it pretty streetable.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely my weakness there is the fuel injection part, because they don't have kits for the V10s, so I got to get a universal harness if I can have it already, and I'm using the Megascore computer, so getting that set up is going to be a vertical learning curve, like a fire hose to the face.
Yeah, electrical is not my bag, so I try to get as much streamlined stuff as I can.
Mm-hmm.
This is how shitty I am at electrical stuff, right? So I'm redoing this wiring, and last year, right before COVID, I got suckered into this ad on Facebook that was like solderless butt connectors, right? Where it's got this little low temp solder ring in the middle, and you take your wires, you throw them in there, and you should be able to heat this up. And the video looked great, soldered up perfect. And I was like,
I've seen those videos. Yeah.
So I was like, how much are these? They're pretty cheap. China, of course. So I buy them, right? And I'm excited because I'm like, I hate soldering. I always fuck it up. Because I had to, this is pathetic. I had to look and figure out how I was fucking it up with soldering wires. And what I was doing was I was heating the solder and the wire at the same time instead of heating underneath the wires and letting the solder melt from the top. And I also wasn't using the flex stuff that you can rub on the wires to help spread the solder to get good connection. So that's how I was screwing it up. So I thought this would make my life so much easier, right? And I remember I bought them, and then COVID hit, and then the box came, and it had Chinese writing all over it. And I was like, fuck, I forgot I ordered those. And then COVID, and I was like, fuck, it's probably got COVID all over it. So I literally just cracked open that box last weekend because I had to do that stuff under the dash. And I tried to do the ammeter wire, which is 10 gauge. So I had it all set up. It looked perfect. And I was like, all right, let's melt it. Right. I melted the shit out of it, not the solder. I don't know what they're talking about. Low heat solder. I was hitting that thing with everything I had. And the only thing it did, it started lighting up the jacket. I was like, oh, I don't want to burn that shit. You know what I mean? So I tried it again. Not as close to the wire or not as close to the connector. Still, it would not melt that solder. Now, On smaller wire, like 18, 22, they do pretty good. I tested it. I did one and I tried to rip it apart and it wouldn't really go. But I could not get that. I could not get that 10 gauge good enough. And I have a little shitty soldering iron that I was trying to solder after that shit show. I was like, all right, I'll just do it like a man and I'll solder it. So I'm trying to solder this 10 gauge wire. And my little soldering iron, like I probably could grab the fucking thing with my hands. And I'm like, this thing. So I'm holding the soldering iron under the wires and I've got the solder on top. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, okay, it's been 4 minutes and the shit isn't melting. And I realized that the soldering iron just was not, I should have tried a soldering gun, but I don't have one. I need to buy a soldering gun because the iron just wasn't getting hot enough to heat the thickness of the 10 gauge to melt the solder. So
I'm super glad for your review there because I ordered that same kit.
Yeah. Hey, the little wires are good. I use them. I did manage to use them on some stereo shit because I put a new deck in the truck because the other one was all scratched up. So I thought, I'll try. It's radio. Who gives a shit if it, So I gave that a shot, and so far they seem to be holding up just fine. The small wires, but the big shit, no, I would not use it because I was like, okay, let me just, because I was under a little bit of pressure because I was like, okay, if I keep fucking up the ammeter wire, I'm gonna have none left. So I took some spare and I kept messing with the spare just to see if I could get it, if there was a trick to it. So I tried my heat gun and I was like, okay, heat gun ain't doing it. I had my little crack torch that I got from 7-Eleven. Still, it was either melting the connector or it wasn't getting the solder hot enough. But what I found was if I was heating it, if I took the two wires and just barely moved them, the solder would liquefy a little bit. But I just seeing it, because it's a clear connector, you can see. I did not trust what I was seeing. I did not feel like the solder was getting all the way through the wires. So I was like, I'm not using it on the 10 gauge. Now the small stuff, like I said, you could probably get away with it, but anything bigger than God, I wouldn't put it on anything. God, I wouldn't even do 16. I'd probably keep it 18 or 22. But yeah, typical Chinese shit. But because once I realized that it wasn't going to work, I jumped on YouTube to see some review videos, and the first two that pulled up were like, "Do not trust" or some shit, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I wish I would have looked that up first." Whoever did the Facebook video for those friggin' things,
they were so convincing.
They were so convincing. Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, "Yes."
Yeah. Nope. Some little Chinese guy got me. Good. Ha stupid American, we'll send you some COVID too. he sent me them butt connectors and the COVID, dude.
It was assembled by a little Chinese kid.
Yeah. I'm not even shitting you though. I was paranoid. I'm a recycle driver, right? So I pick up people's recycle, and there was a long period of time where I was not comfortable getting out and touching people's shit. I was like, nah. And then I get this box from China, and I'm like, I don't know what that says. It might say, "Hey, sucker, open this one up." So yeah, but over a year later, and I don't have COVID, so I guess the box was good. But they did still pull one on me, and they got like $40 of my money for and I thought I would get more. I guess I didn't pay attention to how many were in I get this little tiny box. I was like, shit. And I burned through all the 10 gauge connectors just trying to get the shit to work. So yeah, I'm not very good with electrical. So anytime electricals, unless it's a stereo. But I remember when I was 16, I had these shitty subwoofers in my car. And I remember driving down the road and hit a bump. It's like, so I'm like, all right, I got to go back. And for some reason, when I was younger, I did not believe in crimps. I believed that you could take the wires, get them all straight, and then put them together and just twist them. I can't count how many times I shorted all my shit out. So stupid. Yeah, I've never been the brightest bulb, but as long as it works a little bit of the time, at least you have some light some of the time. But anytime electronics are involved, that's why it's good to know people like Blake, who is
no kidding
friggin' wiring these, coming up with these wiring kits, and it's just like, man, I just wish I had even a fraction. And like Jeremy, I'm looking at what he's doing, and I'm like, I wish I had a fraction of the balls that Jeremy does. Because no way in hell am I hacking? Like, you could put that Viper engine in my garage right now and be like, that'd be pretty cool in the van. And here's what I would do. I would go, yeah, it would. I'm going to take some pictures, put it on Instagram, get those hits, and never do. That's exactly what would happen, because I would not have the balls to sing. So, Jeremy, my hat's
when I
off
was
to you,
researching this, there's all kinds of people that had the same idea, right? On all the forums, Facebook, whatnot. But just like you're saying, they take some photos, they talk about the plan, and then that's it. Last post 6 years ago, 7 years ago, no updates. Sold the project. So I haven't seen a full project start to finish with one of these Viper V10 swaps. So
that's why I'm so excited.
I really get mine. Yeah. I'm hoping to get mine out there on YouTube at least to show everybody. What YouTube's really doing for me is keeping me on track, to be honest.
Awesome.
It's fun shooting the videos, but having that constant push, hey, can I get a video out, can I get something done? That's keeping me in line for Hot August Night. So
yeah. And so your YouTube channel, is it Sort of Stock Mopars? Is that where I can find your stuff or what?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to log all this time.
Nice. You need to come up with some merch or something. I want a shirt that says Sort of Stock Mopars. Come up with some other shirts that say Sort of Running Mopars, and I'll buy one of those too.
Sort of rust-free Mopars for me.
Yes, sort of
rust-free. There you go.
I like that. I still need to. I've been wanting to put out this shirt for a long time. I wanted to say, because it kind of ties into the podcast a little bit, I wanted to say introvert but willing to talk Mopars. That's it. So I'm thinking about getting that shirt out. Let's get back to this chat here. Anthony, so what you're saying is Mopars are so expensive you might have to rob a bank. Not might have to, you have to rob a bank. Yeah. Dennis talking all that shit. Mike Coffee and Johnny Mopar, I'm not done.
That guy that robbed the bank, Jason Mayo, allegedly robbed the bank. Dude, he had some cars. He had a 70 AR Cuda, I think a red one, and he had a 69 Roadrunner. And I remember him telling me he bought it. It was original Roadrunner, 70 Roadrunner, full 46 pack car. But the guy he got it from, the guy was actually racing the car at the Salt Flats, and he converted it into a Superbird. And he said it had a crazy looking engine in it, because he said it was kind of looked like a small block Mopar, but it wasn't. And later on, when he bought the car, he got the car cheaper without the engine. So the guy kept the engine, and then he was like, man, I probably should have grabbed that motor. It was some Indy motor, like a, Indy car type engine that Chrysler built. And they only built a handful of them, apparently. Wow. But yeah, this guy, I don't know.
He robbed that fucking bank, dude. He robbed it for sure. Oh, he had a wing car. He robbed that fucking bank. If I ever come on to one of these podcasts and I go, yeah, guys, I bought a wing car, and you haven't heard shit about me selling a bunch of T-shirts or getting a sponsorship deal, and you see some shit on the news like idiot robs bank, takes off in van. Oh shit, he did it. The crazy son of a bitch did it. The teller says he used 2 finger guns. He came in and robbed the joint. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, man. He did have a heavy Chinese accent, though. It was weird.
If you look about it, that van has an SRT10.
Yeah. It sounded a lot weirder than a regular V8. That's all we know. Pretty good, Dillian. Sorry you couldn't get on the show, man. We try. Try next time. I'll always give somebody a shot, but there's only so much I can deal with before I get hate mail from people like Dodgy Ross. Going, Chris, mate, your show sucks, mate. We don't have shit like that down under. Like, all right, buddy. Johnny suffering from success. Yeah. Oh, God. You know how, like, you see the memes where like people are crying and they're just using $100 bills to wipe their eyes. If Johnny could wipe his eyes with $100 Mopars, he would.
Yep. Oh
Scott says, gotta love car stories. Absolutely, dude. Scott has a pretty cool Duster for sale. He's in Spokane, I believe. This Duster's all tubbed out, caged. It's pretty sweet. I wish I had the money. I don't know what I'd do with it. But I see Johnny's Duster all caged out. I'm like, God, that'd be cool. That's got to be a fun car, right, Johnny?
It is. It is a fun car. I haven't driven it much. I still got to button up some things on it, and I've been distracted lately. So
sure.
Fun
car for an A body, right?
For an A body. Yeah,
for an A body, it's fine. I'm gonna take my toys and go home.
Can you boot Matt off for a little bit so I can talk some shit on A bodies? I don't want to hear this.
That's why I was trying to get him out earlier. Matt, you look a little sleepy. Why don't you go get some shut eye, buddy?
Just go away. We're not gonna talk bad on you.
Hey, if he does fall asleep, then you talk shit.
Definitely.
Wake him right up.
Oh, you guys saw the Undertaker come up out of the coffin, right?
I got to get on it at some point, but it was like, we have the club car, the Belvedere, which is slow as hell. It took to the 8th mile. I think it ran like 11 seconds or something like that, which is pitiful. And then I took my truck to the track, which it went 9.7, I think it was, which is also pretty pitiful. When you're talking about the stock cars or stock appearing cars on bias plies, I was running. My slick was pretty skinny. It's a peg leg and it's just a 7-inch slick, and the truck was just spinning coming out of the hole. It's like I can't. And that truck, I'm not even sure it makes 375 horse. It's a pretty mild 440, but it's like I can get that thing to stick. I don't know how they put so much power down on those tires, on those bias ply tires. It's just amazing to me, But anyway, I don't want to do anything. It's like, I could do this to the truck. I need to put a sure grip in it, switch to an 8 3/4, and then I might as well tub the back, because at the time I was thinking of John's orange truck. And but now I'm like, nah, I can't do it. I just got to skip over the truck, leave it on street duty, and just get over to the Duster, get the stupid Duster to the track. I'll be moving, that's probably a second. I'll at least be a second faster than the truck, maybe 2 seconds faster, hopefully.
I need a center section for my truck because it's a peg leg too.
Is it?
Yeah.
I need 8 3/4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got an 8 3/4 in it, so I'm already halfway there. I just need the center section.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Roy says he wants to know about the charger you have in the background.
Oh, this one. This is the.
Oh, this one.
This whole thing.
This is the free one. This is the one when I called into Talking Mopars, the second Talking Mopars, I think, the one I called in. Mm-hmm. So when we were playing poker with my buddies, and one of my buddies who I've played poker with a bunch of times, just out of the blue, says, I think my father-in-law has a Charger. And I'm like, really? I'm like, well, what year? He's like, oh, I don't know. I go, does it look like the Dukes of Hazzard? And he goes, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, all right. I go, yeah, dude, ask him about it. I'm interested. And he goes, okay, but, hopefully he's not watching it. He's like, my in-laws are really like hillbillies, man. So, and I'm like, well, I don't care, And yeah, it was, when we got over there, it was like, damn. For California, I mean, it would look like it was kind of that. But they were cool. They were cool as shit, And the guy, the old man, he's like, yeah, sure enough, 68 Dodge Charger, so 383 hypo car, and he wanted. I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? And he goes, $300. And I'm like, all right, fuck yeah, I'm definitely taking it. And he goes, you want another one? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, it's over there, and he's pointing to this 72 Charger, which was green at the time. And I'm like, I don't really need another car. And he goes, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. I go, well, how much do you want for it? And he goes, oh, nothing. You can just have it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll take it then. So I took it. So I got it for free. And then it sat for a while. I sold it to my buddy Bob Rayburn for $300. And then it sat at his place for a while. And then he goes, I'm not going to do anything with that charger. Do you want it back? And I go, yeah. I go, well, how much do you want for it? He goes, I'll sell it to you for what you sold it to me for. So I bought it back for $300. So, and then I gave it it's got all the John Jones special in it. So the frame connectors, the frame's tied on it. He did the mini tub. Like if you saw that video on my YouTube channel with the 72 satellite, the tubs are exactly the same on this car. So what he did to that car, it's exactly like that in this, but it's all painted. So when you pop the trunk, it just looks all factory. I mean, the tubs are just,
super clean.
Tub.
Super clean.
Super clean. It's painted. Yeah. It looks beautiful. Yeah. It looks factory. It totally looks factory. And then we scooted the springs inboard on it in the rear. And it's got a 60, I think like a 64 or 5 B body, 8 3/4 housing in it. So it's really narrow for this car. So we can get a pretty fat tire in there. So that's where this car is at. So I have a Stroker 400 that I'll probably end up putting into this car at some point.
Did you do all the paint and body work yourself, Johnny?
No. John did all that.
Oh, okay.
John did all the fabrication and the body and paint.
So I was going to say, it looks friggin' clean from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that the reflection, and it looks crisp.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really super nice. Yeah, John will ask you, if you take a car to him, he'll ask you, do you want it like factory or do you want it like laser straight? Because, I don't know if you saw in the video, John loves talking smack. I mean, he's one of those guys that he likes to get people's goat and, kind of get you going. And like in the corner where the fender, this way, where the fender meets the door, it's like the lines don't even line up. They're like way off, and he's like, oh, it's Chrysler's joke, screwing with people basically. So if you want it laser straight, he'll fix all that shit. And then the car will be laser straight down the side. But if you want it factory, then it's going to be like where the door and the fenders meet. There's like a slight pucker because, the panels are stamped basically. Right. So when you look down the side of the car, you'll see like the reflection come in where the quarter panel meets the door and it comes out, and then the door to the fender. So all those, they're factory little imperfections,
Yeah.
But he leans towards laser straight. He likes the laser straight stuff and likes fixing all that stuff. But if you're doing a factory original, like an A12 car or something like that, obviously you want it to be all original, all the screw ups exactly like the factory did. Now, I don't know if you saw too, did you guys see he had a 71 convertible Challenger in there and it had 2 seats on one side? I don't know if you guys saw that video, but I was tripping on that. I was like, what the hell? Like, what's the story behind that? I'm guessing somebody welded on the factory assembly line, welded one in, and the seat didn't fit right or something. So they just welded in another one and then popped the seat in and then let it go. It's just,
those assembly lines back then, there's so many weird stories that you hear come out of those assembly lines, like hidden notes in the friggin' doors and just a bunch of weird shit. That had to have been kind of that had to have been fun. It's a good thing. I'm sure there's a car out there with some bad shit in it that the guy thought he would never, like my boss is a dickhead and just sticks it in the friggin' door or something. Like someday somebody's gonna find it.
I'll have to send you pictures of Buck's Charger, where they tie the inner structure of the lower portion of the windshield channel to the the roof skin, where it meets the A pillars on the driver's side. It's booger welded, but it's not as bad near the passenger side. It looks like they welded it upside down. The guy never welded upside down before. It's just ready to fall out. So it's still wearing gold paint, so it's original. But it's just that's how quick they're going on the line. They only got like 45 seconds or 48 seconds, I read, or something, to weld each side for whatever they're doing.
Well, Bud, wasn't it?
Story on Mopar Collector's guy. Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was Bud that had the story about a note being stuffed in one of those cars. I'm trying to remember who. Somebody told me about some crazy note that was in a car.
It had a date on it too.
Oh, mine just has the grease, tire size in the trunk lid. But I know I've read about Cuda. There is a guy that worked in essentially probably Hamtramck, but he would write rock inside the underneath the door panels. Rocky, is that what it was?
I think it was Rocky. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a big defeat. Like multiple people have taken cars apart, they find a rock or Rocky underneath. He'd write it in like soapstone or something.
Interesting.
There was a Mopar collector's guide article on, I can't remember if it was a 68 or 69 Charger, but this guy had bought the car from the original owner. And when he sold him the car, he says, "Oh, the right rear quarter glass doesn't roll down all the way." And he's like, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's been like that since I bought it new." And he's like, "Okay." And so he took the car home, and I don't even think the car needed to be restored, but he went in there and pulled the seats and pulled the panel out. He said there was a wine bottle inside the car, like half drank. So like these assemblers on the factory line are drinking this wine bottle. The supervisor's probably coming by and they stuffed it in the car to hide it and just left it in there.
Someone someday will find a bag of weed in one of those. I can almost guarantee it. That was probably my best find at Pick and Pull. I didn't even have to pay for it. It was part of a bag of weed. In the van. I don't know if you guys saw that video. I was like, holy shit, what do we have here? And I pulled up a bag of weed, like a very small bag, had some stems in it. And I was like, holy shit, it couldn't get more cliche than this. A little empty bag of weed in this shitty van. Awesome.
What's the most craziest things you guys found on a junkyard? Just curious.
A junkyard.
It could be anything.
Okay. You know what? This is a perfect segue to my late brother-in-law. I've been dying to tell this. So, my brother-in-law tells me one time, he goes, you know how you go into the junkyard and it's like the rotten gas smell? And I go, yeah. He goes, man, that smell, it makes me have to take a shit. And he's like, so you start looking around and you find yourself a van and you go in with 2 socks and you come out with 1. So it's like you take a shit. You use the van to take a shit in. And then your socks wipe your ass. And I'm like, man, I think I found some vans like that before, because I think I've opened some doors like, what the fuck is going on in here?
That's awful.
Yeah,
that's horrendous.
Mine's nothing like that. The worst thing I ever found was an early '70s Corvette that had been hit hard, and the interior was covered in blood still. That's the craziest thing I've seen at a pick and pull.
Yeah, that's wild.
I can't think of anything crazy that I've found. The bag of weed is the only drugs I found, surprisingly. I'm trying to think of anything crazy. I really can't. Nothing like a shit sock or shit sock. Oh man.
Well, it wasn't crazy, but I've one day. So my 70 Charger at the time, it had been running hot. I was young. I was stupid, and I had taken it was overheating on me. I took a water hose to the radiator, and I had poured cold water into the radiator, and I literally could hear the block crack. As I did it, the people say don't ever put cold water in a hot engine, you'll crack the block. It's true. That shit does really happen. And I was like, fuck, so I threw that Alumaseal in there. It sealed up the block. I got by. But one day we're going through Pick Apart, and I'm walking by a freaking Cordoba, and the Cordoba hood was just like cracked open like that much. And as I'm going by, I glanced in and I can see valve covers, aluminum valve covers. I'm like, oh shit, aluminum valve covers. I pop the hood and it's got Mickey Thompson valve covers on it. I'm like, well, I'm taking those. So I get in there, start pulling the valve covers off. I get the valve cover off, and then I'm like, oh shit, the valve springs, there's double valve springs inside it on the heads. I'm like, what the fuck? So I look in the front of the motor at the pad. Sure enough, it's an RB and it's a 440 HP. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm taking this bitch.
Oh,
I ended up pulling it to put in my car. I had to call in sick that day. And boss was not happy, but
well, I'm just glad that nobody had a story like, I was walking through the wrecking yard and I saw a 87 LeBaron and there was still an arm attached to the steering wheel.
No, but like my 71 RT, it had 38 special rounds all over inside of it.
Oh shit!
So, that was every time. That's not nothing crazy, but
every time I clean out my truck, I always forget about a box of 40 that's sitting in the Dodges. You have those little cubbies in the floor in the back mine are covered with floor mats. And my wife and I used to go shooting quite a bit. So I had ammo in there and I always forget. And then I open it up and like, score. It's like, yeah, ammo. I've been looking for that. So that's always nice.
I've never found another project car today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive now.
Yeah. I gave up looking anytime there's an election or some crazy shit going on like COVID, I'm like, oh, well, I should have bought ammo when it wasn't crazy. And then I knew now you can't get anything. At least up here, I hear. Yeah, I definitely hear that because I wanted to get an '06. And try my hand at some hunting because I like the idea of going and getting my own meat. And I've never done it before. And I contacted all my friends that are like hardcore hunters. And I said, what's the best round to start with? And everybody told me '06. Go get an '06. So I was like, all right. And then this bullshit happened. And I was like, all right, I'm not buying a rifle. Not buying a rifle if I can't get the ammo. So that's dead in the water right now. So Johnny, where are you at on that project? I mean, obviously it's on the back burner right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, so John did all this work to it, got it painted, and it's probably been sitting here for about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 3. I've bought a bunch of parts that are stuffed underneath the car, and then my mom's car, which is also a 72 Charger. I had John paint that car as well. So in backing up, when I lived in Romaland, we were losing our house. And so John had offered, he goes, well, John was actually coming over and doing some work on this car at my place. And I actually had a 68 Charger that also, and I was like, I wanted to do work on the 68. And I had a different guy doing a lot of the work on this car, and he just wasn't the same caliber as John, And so push come to shove, we were losing our place. We were moving here in Wildemar, and I was bringing some stuff over. And John offered, he goes, well, we could bring the Charger to my place, and then that way that's sort of one car you don't have to worry about, and you can work on it. Well, it's over at his place, so it's kind of like storage and get work done. So, yeah, that's why he brought that car in. That's how it was rolling. But anyway, my mom's 72 Charger, I gave it to John also. This car has just been, slow progress. And then I've got my mom's car back. So I started stealing a lot of the parts I bought for this car and throwing them on my mom's car to try to get her car, moved along a lot faster because, she's getting up there in age. So I want to get that car back to her. Yeah. So she can enjoy it before, it's too late. So
sure.
That's where that's at. But then, now I've got my dad's car. I'm trying to get going for the duct tape drags in October. So that's kind of trumping everything, everything's pretty much on pause. Like I really didn't need to be buying a 70 Coronet wagon, but it was such a good deal. I just couldn't pass it up. So,
oh, you needed to.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something though, Johnny. What car is on the outermost circle? Where are we at here? What's the outlier that may be, waiting in the wings for a sucker like me?
Well, on the absolute outer circle would be that 68 Coronet 4-door, which somebody was asking about 4-doors. And by the way, yeah, that car, I don't have any. What I think it'll be a cool car. What I'd like to do is build like a ratty cop car clone out of it. Put some John's actually got some spotlights for the A-pillar.
Oh, really?
and he's got some wigwags too, so the headlights flash back and forth.
Yeah.
So I'd love to clone a car like that, but leave it ratty. Just make it look like, oh, that used to be a cop car at one time, and have it like slammed down, put a big block in it, and just go to town on it. But I don't have any time, blood, sweat, and tears, nor much money into it. That's the most outer. Obviously, that parts truck would be on the most outer. I don't know. I haven't given much thought beyond that, I guess.
Okay.
Are you waiting for me to get to a Charger or something, or?
I mean, kind of, but there's always Mike Coffee. Now, if the timing worked out right and Mike maybe found an A12 or something, and then you decided, I guess one of these Chargers is going to the circle, then I know, well, Mike's preoccupied with that A12. Maybe he can throw a dog a bone every once in a while, and maybe I can get my hands on a Charger. But I hear stories about people that talk about, the $20,000 Charger projects that I post, or that, we all see all the time out there for sale. And they're like, I would never pay that much because I'm getting them for $20,000 running and driving. You know what I mean? I'm like, where the are these cars at? You know what I mean? Because I don't see that shit up here. Running and driving Chargers, you're never going to find a running and driving Charger up here in Washington State for, I'll say, low to mid 20s. That's the lowest I've seen. And even that's for a XP 318 car, you know what I mean? 25 grand. So I don't know. I guess it must be a Southern thing because we don't get them up here. Or you just know people, I mean, a good example.
Like me, I know, John is hooking me up. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah, sure. I need a friend like that. It's like I lost my mind when my friend told me, when I asked him how much he wanted for the GTX, and he told me, and I was like, what? I was like, okay, well, I wish you would have told me before I spent a bunch of money, because I would have bought it just to have it. Because it's one of those cars where even though I got other shit, at least I could be like, oh yeah, well, I got a 69 GTX. Because every time somebody found out I was into Mopars that wasn't like in my circle, or that it was only an acquaintance with, and they're like, oh, you're a Mopar guy, huh? And I'm like, yep. And I'm like, what do you got? And I'm like, I could always see the like disappointment in their face when I'm like, a 69, and they're like, yeah, and I go, dart, and they go, oh, and I'm like, do you know what a dart is? It's a heartbreaker every time. Now it's a little cooler to be like, oh, it's 69 GTX, and because like now they ask me and they're like, what kind of Mopars do you got? And I'm like, well, 78 D150, it's pickup truck. So like you say that, and they're just like, okay. And then I go, and a 78 B200 van. And they go, okay, stay away from my kids. And they pull the kids in. I'm going to do my best to make vans cool again up here, because there's just, and every time I feel like I'm getting a leg up, there's a news story. Like my wife just showed me this. She goes, listen to this. What did she say? Panel van, the kid or abducts. And I was like, all I had to do is hear that. And I was like, shit, again? Shit. Can we use box trucks or something? Do we have to use the painter's van? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. Dude, that GTX, I mean, honestly, if that car were near me, I would somehow find a way to make that happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I know I have a problem, but I feel like for example, for that wagon, it's like, I just know if I pass on that car, like that's it. That car will never come around again. There will not be another 7. And there, out of those 370 wagons that I've seen, one of them was actually here in Wildemar. It was sitting behind this house forever. And every Mopar guy I know in the area has like stopped and left their number in their mailbox, and they've never called, including myself. And then all of a sudden one day, and it looks like nobody lives there. The gate's always closed. It's locked. There's like a light inside. It's like, what? Who knows what the story is? And then one day, somebody goes in there and they're like, the wagon's up for sale, and it was for $4,000. It was a 383 big block car. Wow. And it's clean and it's rust free, and it's probably sat in that freaking. I've seen that car, man, at least like 10 or 15 years. It's been sitting there. It's probably been there like 20, 25, maybe 30 years, you know?
Wow.
Like it wasn't in a barn. It was next to a barn. So it was next to a barn find. And then there was like a 67 Chrysler that got pulled out of there also. But I didn't have the money at the time. You know, I couldn't have swung it. I would have bought it if I could have. But this second time around, I was like, this is my only chance. This was going to be it. So like that GTX, dude, I mean, I just think, well, like, so Chargers, like you're talking about, $20,000 for a running driving Charger it doesn't exist up in your area, right?
Yeah.
And maybe somewhere in the South it's still out there, but I mean, it really wasn't that long ago. I just sold one of my 69 Charger RT. I mean, it was a rough car, but it was only a few years ago, and I got like $7,000 for it. You know what? Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah. Like the General Mayhem story. The General Mayhem story. I mean, that was. So I guess Freiberger said it was 2007. I thought it was around 8 or 9. But all right, let's say 2007. I mean, that's not that long ago. It's 13 years ago, and I put that car up for sale for. I think I started at $3,000, and I got all the way down to about 2,400 before he offered me the heads. And literally nobody came to look at the car. He was the only person that actually came and looked at the car. I got tons of texts or emails, tons of emails, tons of phone calls.
Of course.
You know, but nobody moved on it. And that, I mean, you can't. What's that car worth today?
Oh man. I mean, you could probably sell it like that for $15,000 based on what I've been seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
All I know,
I don't. You posted too.
Yeah. It sounds like I'm being a little shady with the GTX. I guess I'll say the price because I don't have the money, and I don't want it to get sold because I love the fact that it's an actual black car with red interior. That's what's cool to me. Yeah. The thing that kills me is it does not have the fender tag, and it's not a console car, which is fine because I have the 451 and the 727 that I now have really nowhere to put it. So I'm like, well, screw the fender tag. It's a black on red GTX. You know what I mean? I was like, and he said 5 or 6 for it. So I'm like, okay. And the condition is, if it was running and driving, it's just ratty enough. You know what I mean? I mean, it's ratty. Don't get me wrong. Like on a scale of Barrett Jackson to hunk of shit, it's probably about, it's a little bit above hunk of shit. It's probably a pile of shit. But it's a good pile of shit, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's a nice. It would be a perfect. Like I would if I saw it at a show. Now, granted, it did have a bunch of moss on it, and but I think that if you pressure washed it and didn't blow too much of the car away because a lot of it is rusty, it definitely has that look to it. And it's not too far gone. It's definitely still. I'll post pictures on my Instagram. I've been really, I've told a couple of people about it and showed a couple of pictures. But there was part of me where I was like, if I get the money, I'm buying that car. I told the guy, I was like, shit. If you had told me, I would have bought this one. Because I had the money. So he's got a 70 Challenger. He wants $2,000 for. He's got that tin grill. That's how I met him, was to go look at this tin grill originally for $1,500. Yeah. And that's when I saw the EL5 Charger. And then, he's got 2 B bodies. You go inside his shop. He's got a Barracuda downstairs, a Coronet. He's got a FC7 Challenger that's not even his. He's just building it. It's just in pieces in his garage. And then he's got some Barracudas upstairs. So, I mean, he's got a lot. And rumor has it that one, possibly more, of the E-bodies upstairs are for sale. That's what really got me going, okay, well, let's go upstairs. I want to see which one's for sale, because it's not every day you come across a 70, and I know the guy, and he's probably had the car up in the garage forever. It's probably, in decent shape, I would imagine. He won't show them to me, so I have to imagine the shit in my head. I'm like, okay, what is it? Give me some details. And I know he's going to listen to this, and he's going to know he has a leg up on me. And he's going to go, he's holding the power above me. But he's
going to go, you don't have a Motor Trend contract?
Yeah. He's probably the way things are going right now is he will be the first person I've ever actually podcasted with from inside the vehicle when he's driving. He's got a really nice CUDA, and he's had it for like 40 years. And he basically told me, look, when we go for a ride, I'm gonna drive the car. And that's all I needed to hear, because you've had the car for 40 years. You know how to drive that car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes, everybody that rides in it. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I'm hoping that he scares the shit out of me. So when I'm on the podcast, I can be like, all right, guys, we're probably going to die. So these are probably my last words. Tell my wife, my kid, I love them. But yeah, I really want a B body in my life, but if the right E body came around, damn it, essentially anything better than my 69 Dart. Because now I'm like, all right, it has to be a 69 Dart or better, because I can't go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As cool as they are, I couldn't find a 69 Valiant and go, okay, found a replacement for the Dart. I can't. That's just not my style. Now, there's nothing wrong with a Valiant. I would take a Project Valiant if that's what I was in the market for, but ideally, I'd like to find a B body or an E body next for a car.
That's kind of one of those cars. Like if I didn't, I've got plenty of my B bodies now, but if I didn't have any B bodies, that would be a nice one to kind of have under your belt. And you don't have to worry, it's 2007 to 2021 and Chargers, Charger was for sale for $2,000 and now they're going for $20,000. It's like, once you have it under your belt, you can kind of whatever the market does, that's fine. At least I got that one. And then even if you decide later on down the road, like say 10 years from now, you don't want to mess with that car or a better car or a different car, maybe a Charger comes along. That's a nice bartering chip. You can either trade or you can decide to sell it, get a decent amount of money for it, and then move that money towards this other car, whatever else you're looking at. But
my wife,
that's
absolutely. My wife and I were actually talking about it, and I've kind of ran this idea by her a couple times, and I was like, it's kind of a blessing in disguise that I didn't end up with a Scat Pack. And the reason why is because I think about the money I would spend on a Scat Pack. We'll round up a little bit for a good used one. In my area is probably going to be about $40,000 to $45,000. So I'm thinking to myself, what kind of classic Mopar can I get for $40,000 or $45,000? You're probably not going to lose a damn penny on that. But as soon as you drive that new Scat Pack off the lot, you better be ready to keep it. You better be ready to keep it, because you're going to lose your ass if you turn around and try to trade in. Now, I would be smart to go get a decent, real Super B, Roadrunner, CUDA, Challenger RT, something that maybe isn't in, concourse restoration quality, but a really nice driver for $40,000 to $45,000. So that's kind of in the back of my mind, like, how many projects do I need? I've got the running and driving project in the Mr. Norm truck. I've got a full-on project in this van. It would be nice to just have a clean muscle car that maybe needs a little tweaking, and that's it. That would be nice. So I'm thinking of leaning that way, because the idea to get a new Scat Pack would be, okay, you've got the power, it's fun, and it's hopefully reliable. A new car, warranty, and all that shit. But I'm like, my daily driver Ram 1500 is fine. It's got a 4.7 in it. They made 1 million of them, so if it ever blows an engine, I can get one for reasonably cheap. The one reason I got screwed on that truck, though, because when I bought it, here's how stupid I am. I was like, oh, it's not the Hemi. And then immediately I was like, well, I guess a tune-up's going to be cheaper because it doesn't have 16 spark plugs. Wrong. Wrong. When I called the dealership because the truck is lifted, so I can't get it in my garage. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just take it into the dealer and have them do a 90K on it. And they told me the price on the 90K, and I was like, why is it so much? And they started breaking it down because it was over $1,000. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to do this a la carte. There's a lot of stuff I can do myself. I just don't want to deal with the with pulling it into the garage. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what kind of stuff would I want to do in a garage? I probably want to do the plugs and all that. So I was like, just do the plugs for me. And they gave me the price on the plugs, and it was like, I want to say it was around or just over $400. And I was like, what? That's insane. And she goes, well, there's 16 of them. And I said, well, it's not a Hemi. I thought I had one. I was like, well, it's not a Hemi. And she goes, oh, that doesn't matter, sir. And I said, what? I had to look it up. I thought she was bullshitting me. And I was like, oh, shit. So needless to say, I was like, okay, so I should have got a Hemi is what you're telling me. And I screwed myself thinking I was going to save a couple $100, which in the grand scheme of things, who gives a shit? Because every time I've tried to trade this truck in, and they say it every time, they go, you'd probably get a little bit more if it was a Hemi. One guy even had the nerve to sit down and he goes, he slides the blue book sheet over to me with the value of the truck. And he goes, what's really killing the value on this thing? And I go, what's that? And he takes his little stupid fucking pen and he circles 4.7 liter. And I was like, all right, dickhead. Like, come on, man. I was like, okay, ouch. Hold on, let me just grab my ankles a little bit longer and see if we can maybe enjoy this for a minute or two. So yeah, I'm gonna pay for that one for the rest of the time I own the truck. So now I'm like, I might as well just pay it off and run that thing into the ground. Run it into the ground until it gets to the point where I sell it for $2,000. So, and then I can go find a daily driver. But we'll see. Hopefully, I'll be.
7's been around for a long time now. Was it like 03, 04?
Yeah, there are differences though, because I thought about that too. Because there's a lot of I wanted to wake it up a little bit because it does what I need it to. But there are times where I'm going up a hill or if I'm pulling something where I'm like, shit, this thing needs something. It is gutless. Like, oh man, it was tough when I was pulling the Mr. Norm truck home. I was getting on the freeway. I had that damn thing floored. And this thing was, man, it was rough, dude. I swear a Prius probably could have passed me in that thing. I was like, wow, this thing is not moving for shit. I was like, come on. And I had it in tow mode. Nothing could get that thing to move. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but I really don't haul cars that much. And hopefully if I can get this van, with the 5.7 Hemi in it, a strong 727, hopefully I can tow a little bit. You know what I mean? Hopefully I can at least tow a car with it. I got to look some stuff up and see what kind of hitch I need and all that, because I don't think the hitch that's on it, I don't know if I can trust it or not. Oh, check this out. So randomly, and I don't know how I didn't notice this the last time I was under there, but the old wheels and tires were kind of in the way from the van. So I was like, I'll just slide them underneath the van for now until I find a better place to put them. So I got underneath there. And I was like, God, I like that I bought this car in the desert because it's pretty solid under here. And I was looking around and I looked at the back and I was like, holy shit, it's got air shocks in it. I was like, damn. So I got all excited. So I'm kind of after this live, it's pretty late, but my compressor still has air in it. I think I'm going to go out there and see if I can put some air in it and jack that fucker right up. They're rusty as shit. Like I wouldn't trust them for the life of me, but I got to see if they'll air up on me. So we'll see. But yeah, I was pretty excited about that because I do want to put hijackers on it just because it's a fucking van. Let's have some fun. And I do have, when I sold my truck, I had already ordered a new compressor and a new air tank for it. So the truck was gone and I get this giant package. And so I have a compressor and a 5-gallon tank that I have no idea what I'm going to do with. So I was like, all right, I'll put some air horns in the van and I guess I'll hook up these air shocks to the giant compressor. Because I really do want to, I'm looking at the van. I was like, that front end needs to come down. There's too much wheel gap. And even in the back, it's got a little, I should have went with a bigger tire. I should have went with a 285 or something. I should have went with something a little bit more ridiculous. So it's all a learning process, I guess.
Can you imagine pulling up to your neighbor with that Chevy van, blowing that air horn? 6 in the morning.
Oh shit, I love it. You know what would be really creepy is if I got the the ice cream man, the ding 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 ding. If I put that in the van, I just rolled around playing the ice cream guy music.
Getting little kids snapping their neck, looking around.
Hey, make them come to me.
He never stops. You can throw rocks at you.
That would be an easy one to argue in court. I never abducted any of them. They willingly came with me. They thought I had ice cream. I never said I did or I didn't. They just heard the music. Okay.
Did you guys ever see the movie The Warriors?
Warrior, I'm out and play.
Oh, beer bottles,
Oh shit!
See Chris driving around in that van, clinking some beer bottles together. Children.
Oh man! What's really messed up is I'm totally against child trafficking. So these jokes are completely awful. I'm probably gonna burn in hell. Well, guys, I mean, we went over 3 hours. I have to watch the clock because the last time I went over 4, I got screwed and I couldn't use the content because StreamYard didn't let me save the 18 minutes after the 4 hours. So I keep them under 4 hours now. Let's run through these last few comments, see if there's any hidden gems. Sometimes we get a good hidden gem and go off on a tangent. Roy says, my builds are on 4A bodies only and 4B bodies only. My handle is Mopar is best. Cool handle. And I started a Facebook page for owners of 73, 74 Charger 440 U cars. That's cool. So anybody watching that's into the later model B bodies, go check them out.
John's got a couple of those. I've got them on video talking about. So
I didn't watch the whole video. I need to finish watching it because it was just getting into the good stuff where he starts, pointing things out, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, and then I had to go do something. I forget what I had to do. A lot of the times I just listen to the videos at work. Like the most frustrating person to listen to while I'm at work driving a friggin' garbage truck is Blake, because he gets so technical and I'm like, shit. So I got to pull over and I got to look and see what he's talking about. And I'm like, okay. And then I keep driving. So thanks, Blake. Somehow Blake's getting me more hours at work. I don't know how, but that. Gary says V8 under glass. I mean, how far did you have to push the firewall back on that, Jeremy?
5 inches. Yeah. So I thought about that. I thought it'd be like a snake in a bottle type thing. But, and I'm too tall for that. My knees would be jammed in the dash.
That's his next message. He says, not going to be too comfortable for a 6 foot plus driver. So what are you gonna move the seat back or what? I mean, I imagine you have to.
I'm sliding it back a little bit.
Yeah. When you're short like me, you don't have to worry about those things. Gary says cooling was always, we talked about that one. Dillian says, hopefully, when I said we'll catch him on the next live, he says, finally got the 440 and his D100 to idle. Just finishing buttoning up some stuff and to do some adjustments. Yeah, man. Congratulations. Big block D series trucks. Nothing wrong with those.
Hell yeah.
Roy Wheeler, my ears are burning all this Chevy talk. Yeah. And Gary says, I build other people's cars to fund my projects. It's expensive. I mean, if you've got the skills to pay your own bills, by all means. Anthony checked out. Thank Anthony, if you watched the rest of this show, thanks for joining us, buddy. That was fun. Hopefully next time we can get you on a better connection. And Anthony's, for anybody wondering, Anthony's YouTube channel is Tales from the Junkyard. That's TAILS, not TALES. Fun channel. I went, like I said, I immediately went for the Fiero video. I don't know. That's just because I'm weird. I have a thing for 80s weird cars. I like looking up that kind of stuff. Part of me wanted to start another podcast. I'm not going to. Part of me wanted to start another podcast about cult cars because there's those 80s and 90s cars that just have these weird cult followings. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about them. But Gary, the Vipers had a hard time hooking up with the factory 335 tires. What are you going to run for rear tires on that, Jeremy?
So I've got the 285, there should be 275, 60R 17s. So the old Mustang wheel. So I don't have problems. It's just gonna have fun. I want to whip the tail end around anyways.
What tires are you gonna put on that thing?
I've got the Nitto 555Rs.
Cool. Awesome. God, I'm really excited about that car. That's gonna be a cool one. Dodgy Ross. A63 is a hang 10 dart. Okay, thanks. Where were you 3 hours ago?
I think you said that 3 hours ago.
He did say that 3 hours ago. Jeff, hi guys. What do you think about four-door Mopars in general? I think they're cool. I think they're underrated. I think they make great project cars. And like I always say, you can build a motor, put it in the car, and when you find a better car, you can yank the motor, and someone will probably buy the four-door for a parts car, or maybe build a cool sedan, which I've seen a couple of them where they've really got me thinking about buying a sedan just because I'm like, you never see them and they're cool. I don't know. Yep. And they're still, they're still reasonably cheap. The wagons have skyrocketed though. So Johnny, I think you're in the money on that 70, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Dillian says, I actually found a 66 Newport with a 383 for 6,500. That's a four-door. Cool.
Wow.
If it's solid, I mean, the early mid-60s Mopars, the big block cars, solid ones, I see still under 10 grand, which is surprising.
You want to know how much I got mine from Mike Coffey for?
How much?
I traded him a set of rally wheels that he put on the RT and $300. So about $700. I mean,
damn.
It's pretty hammered. The right driver fender is pretty hammered, but it's a pretty solid car.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, $700 for a project.
Yeah.
And does it run and drive or no?
No drivetrain, but it is a two-barrel car. So it's already got, I'd say it's set up for a big block, but it really doesn't matter.
And that's still a good deal. If it ran and drove, I would have said steal.
Yeah.
Stolen car, period. Marco says his laptop battery gave out. Thanks for coming on, buddy. We'll see you next time if you want to join us again. Scott knows my friend Paul the welder, and he's a good guy. Yeah, Paul is a great guy. He actually came over this side of the mountains and brought my daughter a Strip Weathers little wing car from the movie Cars, the Disney movie. I thought that was a nice gesture from a guy I've never met. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, definitely your loss, Scott, but the more the merrier over here. You can always come by and visit. Roy says, I think it was a 318 IndyCar motor.
Yes.
Super rare.
Yeah, that was it. I think that was it.
That's rad. I'm going to have to look that up and see what it's all about.
Yeah, I've never heard about him. I mean, I after I heard that story, I did see an article, I think, in Mopar Collector's Guide on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Scott, once again, this is the guy with the duster that I was talking about. He thanks me for the free duster promotion. He's talking about. He also has a '63 Newport wagon for sale. It's pretty cool. It's got a big American flag on it. He named it Old Glory, and he does have some tin grills for sale and stuff. So, for those of you watching this, Scott A. Schmidt, you can find him on a lot of the Northwest Mopar pages. He found a sickle behind the rear door panel. Damn. And a full shotgun shell that fell out of the hole in the lower quarter panel as I was using a Sawzall to remove it. Scary situation. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A sickle behind the rear. Jesus. It was on a 70 Challenger. Interesting. That's crazy, dude. Johnny again with the cheap cars. Bitchin', as Johnny would say. I forgot. I was going to say, because I've got a bottle of whiskey here, and I was going to say, okay, we're going to do a drinking game this time. For everybody listening at home or watching, every time Johnny says bitchin', we're going to take a shot or take a swig. And we never got to it, and you didn't say bitchin' very much, if at all.
I don't think I said it at all.
I don't think so.
He didn't say
I don't think he said it at all.
No, he didn't say it at all.
That would have been
Wasn't even trying.
That would
have been the worst drinking game ever.
Worst. How about I had that? How about I had that just loaded up, ready to go? Drinking game tonight, guys, and Johnny just kills it right there on the spot.
You spend the whole time anticipating.
Yeah, that was tough. On that note, let's go ahead and start. We're going to shut it down. We're almost 3.5 hours in. I think that's a good show. I had a great time. Thank you to everybody who joined in the chat and everybody on screen. It was nice getting to talk to you guys face to face and get to know you a little bit. You're more than welcome. Anybody that's ever been on the show is more than welcome to come back. I know it gets a little chaotic in here sometimes, but that's, I love this being an open forum and a good place to chat and just talk Mopars and just bullshit. It's fun. I like it.
That's good.
Yeah. We'll leave it at the last comment from Dodgy Ross. Says a good show, mofos. A lot of laughs. Catch up next time. Yes, sir. From the top, starting with Matt. Matt, tell everybody where we can find all your content.
You can find me pretty much anywhere under Big Blocks Garage. We're on Podpage, Anchor, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere.
Bud Mac, you're up.
Instagram, Muscle Car Syndicate, and YouTube, Muscle Car Syndicate. And real quick, I told LM23P9E on Instagram. He has that nice little yellow dart 340 swinger. I told him I'd show off the lens I did for him for his newborn son.
That is sweet.
So,
looks good.
Going out to Pennsylvania.
Every time I look at my van, Bud, I keep thinking about I'm flying him out. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I got to fly you out and letter that damn thing. So I need to start a little savings account for that because I'm sure you're not cheap. Jeremy, you are up, sir. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm only posted on YouTube, really. You can find me as Sort of Stock Mopars. So I try to keep it in one location. It gets a little crazy when you start spreading it out.
Yeah, it definitely does. Sort of Stock Mopars, Viper powered A body Barracuda, insane swap. Can't wait to see it. Looking forward to that. Please join us again if you make progress, or if you just want to join us in the chat. It's always fun. It was great having you on. Irvin,
appreciate
you
it.
are up. Yeah, no, absolutely. Irvin, you're up, buddy. What you got?
Well, I still have my Instagram that I'm trying to work on. It's all out Mopar with al.out.mopar, and I'm so far I'm just posting modern Mopars, but I'm throwing some little classic in there, and I would love to throw more of a classic in there. So if everyone gives me a follow, I don't discriminate. I don't care if the car has no engine. There's a story behind it. I'll post it. You know what I mean?
Nice. I feel you. Right on. all.out.mopars, right? With an S?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Go follow him on Instagram right now. And then last but most certainly not least, with the cheapest Mopars you've ever seen, famous. He's dropping names. He's always getting mentions by the big wigs and the most famous Mopar people. Johnny,
I don't know about all that.
Johnny Mother Mopar. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube as Johnny Mopar with a space between the two, or on Instagram, no space between Johnny Mopar. And if you don't mind, there was a guy I wanted to, mention. He's called the Gas Tap. He's got I think it's a 69 Valiant. He's got a small block Mopar. He put a turbo on. It's pretty cool. He just took it out to the track and he just hurt the motor. But if anybody's interested, you don't see a whole lot of LA Motor turbos in cars. You see a lot of them in trucks, but yeah. So give them a look. Check them out.
Awesome. Well, that's it, folks. Until we talk again, I'm your host, Chris Albrecht. These are all my Mopar buddies, the Motley crew of Mopars. And that was Talking Mopars Direct Connections live. No Mopar left behind. there you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars is in the books. Special thanks again to all my friends that joined me on the live and all the great people who joined us in the chat. Look, some of you have expressed that you want to hear more shows in the old format, the old style. Don't worry, folks. I have no plans of abandoning the old format, but I do love hosting these live streams, and I want to continue doing them. So moving forward, I'm going to try to find a happy medium, or simply just find the extra time and allocate more resources to do more than one episode a week. And, you know, this show is still in its infancy, and I appreciate you all for joining me and coming along for the ride. For everything you need to know about this podcast, please visit TalkingMopars.com, and that's also where you will find the Talking Mopars merch shop, where you can order products that directly help me keep the engine running and the wheels turning here at Talking Mopars. You can also become a Facebook supporter by heading over to the Talking Mopars podcast Facebook page and clicking on the button that says Become a Supporter. Heading over there and doing that will also get you all the info about the benefits you will receive by becoming a supporter of the show. Lastly, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, Mopar stories, or anything else on your Mopar-addicted mind, you can send an email to chris@talkingmopars.com, or you can leave a voicemail on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and I will play your message right here on Talking Mopars. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars, Direct Connections, live.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.